Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it has happened. Thomas Frank has been sacked. Welcome back to the Irish Hotspur, everybody. We are going to be giving our reaction to Thomas Frank's sacking and to his tenure, what went wrong, how it happened, what's left, can we survive relegation? All the important questions will be discussed today. Good to have a panel of Saurin and Martin here. We're going to bring this live on screen for you guys. And by the way, everybody, we're going to be chatting here for about an hour or so. And then afterwards, we will be doing the fan show. We're going to keep it all in the same stream, though. So do look out towards the end of the show when we will be putting a link out for all of you fan show members to come on and have your say. But Tottenham Hotspur have sacked Thomas Frank. It is official. In case you didn't believe me, here it is for you guys to read. The club has taken the decision to make a change in the men's head coach position, and Thomas Frank will leave today. Thomas was appointed in June 2025, and we have been determined to give him the time and support needed to build for the future together. However, results and performances have led the board to conclude that a change at this point in this season is necessary. Throughout his time at the club, Thomas has conducted himself with unwavering commitment, giving everything in his efforts to move the club forward. We'd like to thank him for his contribution and wish him every success in the future. Saurin, Martin, Dave, here we are. Thomas Frank has been sacked. We were hoping for it last night when we were doing our post-match reactions, Dave, and I even titled the Twitter reacts of saying, has he been sacked yet? It looks like he has. Martin, your immediate reactions to it. What's your initial feelings about him going?
Well, as you know, I was at the beginning of the season, I was happy to get him in. That
Are you relieved that he's gone?
Pretty quickly, it changed by sort of September, October. I was thinking this ain't going to work, and I could just see where it was going. And then everyone was saying, "Oh, we've got plenty of cushion. It's going to be all right. We're there. It's not that bad." And then I could just see it was coming. And then I quickly got on board with what Dave was saying. Obviously, me and Dave spoke before that he see it through the bad side of things. I think I was just so caught up in the bad things of last season that I thought someone with tactics and knowledge and looked at other teams was going to be refreshing and didn't really look at the bigger picture so much. But yeah, that wavered very quickly, and I've been saying since November I can see us getting in this relegation battle, and then it's just got evident that we ain't getting out of it, and we're just getting further and further into it. And it had to go. I think it had to go a long time ago. The West Ham game for me was the final one. We put up with Chelsea, we put up with Arsenal, but the West Ham one is unforgiving for me. And yeah, I was when my son texted me today with all the news, I was really excited, and I think I woke Dave up to give him some great news.
Yeah. And Saurin, your initial feelings, your initial reaction to it, were sense of relief, sense of worry, sadness?
I'm numb to it, to be honest with you. Look, said last night that I don't blame Thomas Frank totally. I blame the board. And I think when you read that message from the board, it just shows you how much bollocks there is. They haven't backed him properly. They haven't given him what he needed. And look, he maybe wasn't the right guy. And we said it last night that it's probably the standard too high for him. But he was, can understand the fact that they gave him a chance. I was pretty much opposite to Martin. He didn't instill anything in me when he came in. But like every manager that we get, I tried to get behind them. I tried to believe in them. And he just became to the point where he had to go. There wasn't any option. And yeah, I was shocked, but I also wasn't shocked. And it wasn't a case of I'm happy or I'm sad. To be honest with you, I've just got no feeling at all towards it, because the board, the owners have absolutely killed this club for me. And I just think now he's gone, I'm dreading who they're going to actually try and get in, because I have no confidence in him getting it. We won't go down, Leighton. We won't go down. Honest. Oh, shit.
We usually rely on your predictions, Saurin. We have to rely on them.
Look, I just have no confidence in them getting it right. And it worries me more the fact he's gone now as to who they'll get in, rather than the fact that if they'd have actually backed him in the window, we might have been all right. But look, He's gone. It's time to move on. I wish him all the luck. I hope he finds a club that he can succeed at, and it's time to get behind the club once again. We come out with the same old statements. It's time to be patient. It's time to back the new manager, the interim manager, whoever comes in. It's, give the board another 6 months to a year that we're not going to complain about them. And, they've got what they wanted. The fans probably going to calm down a little bit and they'll cock it up for another 6 months. And then they've got the argument that they don't need to get anybody in the summer because they don't know who the manager's going to be. And the biggest problem I think we've got at the moment is all the time they've known this could be a possibility, that interim manager should already been contacted and basically coming in the door tomorrow, and he won't be.
Yeah, apparently they're taking 5 days over the decision, which worries me already, but it is a sense of relief.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if we haven't got an interim manager in before Arsenal.
Seriously. Vinay taking it over. Dave, your initial reactions before I get to the chat and welcome some people in. I mean, what was it when it happened? Was it a sense of relief? Still a sense of impending doom and worry? How do you feel about
it? Weird. Look, for me, I think the right decision was made. We were heading towards relegation in a bobsleigh team. We were going down that quickly. It was embarrassing. If we kept the guy in any longer, it was certain we were going to get relegated. So it was our last roll of the dice, and I think we had to take it. We had to make that decision. 2 wins in our last 17 games. It's relegation form. And form like that, you're heading directly down to the championship. However, I still don't trust Vinay and Johan Lang to make the right decision in terms of the interim guy or whatever decision they're going to make to see us between now and the end of the season. At the end of the day, we're still in a relegation battle, but I'm glad we've given ourselves a chance, I suppose, to try and get out of it.
Yeah. For me, it was a huge sense of relief. It could not go on any longer. But of course, we will be discussing that element of it is, do you even trust, though, the board to still get us out of this and make the right decisions with who they could bring in? But he had to go no matter what, even if you did feel like that the board is still going to get it wrong. His time was up after that game. It was already up, I felt like, months ago, to be perfectly honest, but it was a huge sense of relief for myself. To get to the chat here, and then we'll get stuck into the conversations around Thomas Frank, where it all went wrong and what we have left to do in terms of this season. Leo Starman saying, thank God we have a little bit of hope now. David Turner saying, evening all. Anyone here without a club and playing midfield and or on the wing and at left back? Yeah, we need all those at the minute. If you know anyone, David. Good to see Dropkick Your Teacher in the house as well. AK Shag saying, so happy that Frank's gone. Tough relegation battle ahead, but I can't help and think how he could have avoided this by sacking him months ago. We all knew it had to happen. Exactly. I think it needed to happen in January at the latest. And then you could even make the case it need to even happen probably almost after the Arsenal game, really. Magic J saying, about time he is gone. Big up Dave and Jack in the chat. Good to have you with us, my friend. Shawnee Maddox saying, took him long enough. Now, hopefully the board doesn't screw up the interim for the relegation battle. I think the reason why I feel like he just had to go, Sean, is with the record he has at the minute, it's not like really anyone could do that much worse than Thomas Frank at this stage. That's why he pretty much did have to go. Iceman's in the house as well. Big up Dave and Jack, Saurin, Martin, and everyone in the chat. Eugene's in the house. Big up, boys. Eugene, if you have time tonight, would love to have a chat with you on the fan show. We're putting the link up later, by the way, in case you want to join and have a chat with us. Dermatron has become an elite member, an elite man of the Spurs community. Thank you, Dermatron. Very generous support. Hopefully get to chat with you later about it. J-Mac saying, big up, Davey, lads, Jack and Saurin. What a glorious day. Come on, you Spurs. Steve's in the house. PH family saying, I thought when he came in, he'd steady the ship. Didn't realize he'd sink it like the Titanic. Yeah, he described it as a Titanic, like a absolute freight of a ship, and he's definitely sunk it, Steve. And good to have you in the house as well. We have the one and only Shem 10. Hey, Jack and Dave and Mr. Martin and Legend. Hope you're all well today. Well, it's finally happened. Let's see what the board do now, especially as they don't have Frank to hide behind anymore. Very well put there, Shemmy 10. We all knew that maybe once Frank was gone, that everyone's attention and eyes would go towards the board and towards Vinay and Johan Langen. That might have been also the reason why they wanted to keep Frank in as long as possible, because they knew that pretty much all the attention would be on them afterwards. Chris is saying, I'm so happy that Frank is gone. Leighton Evelyn saying, sorry, Saurin, we won't go down. Dennis Daly's in the house. Big up, lads. Here we go. Logan THFC with a super sticker. Really do appreciate the support, by the way, Logan. Good to have you with us. And he's also saying, good evening, fellas. Big up to everyone. The choo-choo era is over. And thank God, I'm not sure how much more I could have taken. I was done after January. The fact that those were so many games that we could have used to try to crack into the top 10, catch up with some of the teams like Everton, Sunderland that are towards the top end of the table. And we just lost or didn't pick up any wins against all of them. That was the sign for me that he had to go, to be perfectly honest. Our Lady Ellie up in Las Vegas. Good to have you. What an amazing way to wake up in the morning. Great news, if you ask me, Ellie, but some people might feel differently, which is why we're going to have the conversations today. Going to catch up with some other people in the chat here. Jerome saying, just because we sack Frank does not mean we are now safe. We need someone to come in and make us survive. Heitinga is not the one. Martin, do you feel that way? That, it's not like everything's now fixed once Frank is gone. And also people are worried that it could be like a Johnny Heitinga to come in, which I'm not sure how much better that would be.
No, I think it's one of them, again, typical Spurs, there's no plan. So although I think that this was a possibility, I don't think they've planned for it. I think they was just hoping on the fact that he would just keep them a little bit above, just to get them through to the end of the season, so they didn't have to sack him mid-season, find an interim, and then pressure be put towards them. I think that also backs up why they didn't spend money, because in the back of their mind he was going, so do they waste money on him? They was calling it stress buys. We now call it whatever you want, but it looks like they wasn't going to back him. So as far as moving forward with Heitinga, we don't know enough about him. I think he's been second in command a few places. He's had a little spell at Ajax as an interim, and then he didn't do too well as the actual manager. So is he one of them that can branch out and get you through in the season? I'm not too sure. But where we're looking in, I don't know who you look at. There's, talks of getting the old players in, and Harry and Sherwood's come out and had his little say on it. Thrown his hat in the ring. I'm not a great lover of Sherwood. I don't know where we go. But that being said, we couldn't have just stuck with him because we don't know where we're going. And it ain't up to us to know what the club's doing or where they're going. That's what they get paid the big bucks to do. So they should have had a plan. They must know it was in there. But I just think they've honestly felt that he would keep them up. But I think last night, at the end of that game, and West Ham were winning, it was 3 points. And then when our next game is Arsenal, that could have been equal points and you'd be in a goal difference battle. And I think that really shook them up a bit last night into like, wow, this is a reality and not just fans talking and fans being upset. And we ain't too big to go down. And I think last night just shook them up. But they've got to get this interim right and they've got to get the next manager right, whether it's they go for the manager now, which I don't think they're there. I think everyone's waiting for the World Cup to end and, a bit more choice. But at the minute, as you say, I think anyone, like what Carrick's done, I don't think Carrick's gone in Man United and ripped up trees. He's just gone in now and put his arm around the players.
Yeah.
And got them playing. And if we get 3 or 4 wins, that's all he needs to do to keep safe.
Yeah, I mean, Saurin, this is a good comment. I feel
it's a hard job. At the same time, it could be an easy job. But
yeah, Dropkicker teacher Saurin saying spot on. We should be relieved and not celebrating, and I think that connects to what Jerome is saying, right, Saurin? Of like, it's good that Frank is gone, but it's not like we're safe now. It's not like everything is now, it's not like we're in paradise now. All of a sudden, we're still in the same position we were, and everything isn't fixed by sacking Thomas Frank.
Exactly. I mean, look, we've gone through this for the last couple of seasons. People wanting Ange out, people wanted Frank out. We got rid of Ange, we got rid of Frank. It hasn't changed anything. And look, Ponte wasn't my favourite manager for this club. He's a good manager, but not for this club. But he was spot on when he said what he said. I mean, the way he said it was wrong, but it's not going to change until you get rid of these owners. And all we're on is a merry-go-round. And I think one thing I disagree with what Martin said about the transfer window and not backing him. we could have got players in that would suit any manager. We could have
Yeah,
got
I agree on
good,
that.
versatile, players in. It wasn't. This board was not thinking, oh, we might not have Thomas Frank about, so we're not going to spend money. All this board was thinking is we ain't spending money. That was it. It's all false lies. And I think the statement you read out earlier, and can't remember who said it, it might be Ben Jacobs or somebody. The board is now considering whether to get an interim or a full-time manager. This decision should have already been made. We cannot sit here, or they should not be sitting here thinking, now then, should we get a full-time manager or should we get an interim? It's madness that is even been thought about. This should have been in plan before Christmas when we were looking poor, and it should have been a case of, well, look, if it does go wrong, what are we going to do? Come January when it's going wrong, right? It's seriously going wrong. We want to back Thomas Frank. Perfect, not a problem. But what happens if? This is not a big club anymore. These owners are absolutely shocking. And to not have a plan in place already is absolutely disgraceful. Full stop.
Yeah. Thank you for the support, Jerome. I agree with you. I don't think it's like anything is now fixed or anything by Thomas Frank being gone, but it just could not continue anymore. And I don't feel like Johnny
It's stopping the
has.
rot. It's not, nothing's fixed, is it?
Yeah. We're still in the same spot, but we were sinking more and more with him being in charge. It's now
we've got a different reflection of a different chance of it might going forward, but it ain't to say it will.
All the board has done is kick the can down the road a little bit further. Yeah. They've just given themselves a little bit more breathing room, They are owners that do not deserve this football club. Full stop. And, I tried to stand up for Daniel Levy because I didn't think he was the problem. And I think it's starting to show he wasn't the only problem in this club. The owners are the problem. Nothing's changed. Nothing has got better. And if anything, when somebody said earlier, it's the Titanic. No, we've gone down quicker than the Titanic did.
Yeah, they were happy to put his face in the front of it and go, let him take it. Levy out. Black balloons, the pull up. They was happy to sit back and let him take his £5 million and take all the flack for it, 100%.
And look, we've seen it before, We've said for a while that it's understandable the way the fans are and things like this, but it just got to a point where you could see it wasn't a case of if he goes, it was more a case of when he goes. And even the diehard positive people like me, were sitting there thinking, I just hope he goes to the end of the season, keeps us up, and then goes. But it got to a point where you was watching the game last night, and obviously they scored, and then we equalised. But I bet you there weren't many Tottenham fans sat there and thought we can hold on or go and win this.
No,
we were all just waiting for another goal to go in.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
felt like we already should have been 4-0 down, to be perfectly honest.
How was the offside? It was like a pan coin on his forehead, wasn't it?
That is, when even me as a football fan sat there and watched that, and I just think, if we've got to rely, if offside is basically the hair on your head, then I am sorry, this game is gone. This game is gone.
That's how close it was, though, wasn't it? It is literally the smallest part of his forehead. It's just mental.
Yeah.
Sean Maddox saying, no, but we have a chance for the guy in charge to correct the course and divert the crash. I think that's exactly it, is that, we're still in the same spot, but it's
the key
now an
there
opportunity to get away from
chance.
Yeah,
it's just a chance, isn't it?
Yeah. Iceman, member for 30 months, saying, another month down, best Spurs show by far. Feels like more of a family than a channel. Smash that like and sub button. Thank you, Iceman. Very good support, and also as well, a good indictment of this community. Very appreciative. Thank you, sir. Good to have you with us, and we will be asking some difficult questions about where it all went wrong and how we can get out of this from here, Iceman. And we're going to need the family and the community to help us with that. Tyler saying, come on, you Spurs, let's pray we make the right appointment and we stay up. Q7 saying, evening, all right decision, but way too late. This board are cowards. It makes it all look like Frank is going. Is our problems over? But they are still here. I think Saurin very much agree with you there. Smurf saying, "Wonder this appointment is one of the most important in our history." Yeah, this next one. Could be.
Every decision is the most important, and they just keep getting it wrong.
100%.
We've said that for the last 4 managers.
Yeah, but this
I didn't have grey hair the last time. I think I started saying that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this really could this could be the trilogy though. This really could be
is this
one.
The most important decision? As do we get an interim or a manager, or is it the most important decision that we get the right manager or the right interim to lead us to the next manager? Or it's just chaos. Yeah. It really is chaos.
Yeah, they just keep outdoing themselves. Good to have you, Harmless Potato. Do appreciate your support. Queen Ellie's in the house. I mean, no doubt he deserved to get the sack. Big up Queen Ellie. Sugar Ray saying, if we stay up, it's parade time again. Big up Sugar Ray. Get the bus out. And Clark saying there needed to be significant change, and the manager is always the first to go. It has an immediate effect. Exactly. That's the point. After the next 2 games, we could be in the relegation zone without a team. I think Dan is 100% spot on there. Let's get to some more difficult questions here. Frank departs with a win rate of just 26.9%, the lowest of any Big Six manager in Premier League history. Saurin, for you, is he truly the worst appointment in this club's modern era, or was he a fall guy for a squad being in big decline? And that was the big debate all the time when it came to Thomas Frank, is that the squad is, 17th in relegation level. No manager could do much better with this. Or is it really the case that Thomas Frank was just simply the worst manager in the club's modern era?
Look, I think it's one of those that you look, and how do you argue with the stats? And, I can't sit here and say he wasn't the worst manager because the stats tell us otherwise. What I will say is, I think the same with Frank as what it was with Ange Postecoglou and what it was with probably Conte, what it was with Mourinho. They were not backed by the board. They were not given the tools they needed. And as much as he was the wrong type of manager or the wrong person, same as Conte, wrong person, wrong time, wrong club. I don't blame Thomas Frank for any of this because I just think he was out of his depth, or he wasn't given what he needed to do the job. And the only people that I think we can blame is the board. And I don't think the book can go any further than the board because he hasn't been backed properly. We were down to a threadbare team and there was no real help to him. So it's all right saying it's Thomas Frank. And yes, it was him that put the team on the pitch. We've said all along we don't agree with his team selections and things like that. And I get the fact that at the end of the day, it was him. But the overall problem was the board picking him in the first place.
Yeah, I think someone put in on Twitter, which I thought was absolutely spot on, was the 3 mistakes they made were hiring Thomas Frank in the first place, not sacking him in December, and then not sacking him in January, right? Those were the 3 mistakes that they made during this time. That's been the big debate, though, Martin, this whole time under Thomas Frank is some people have, died with him, almost gone to the grave with Thomas Frank by saying that this squad simply isn't good enough. This squad is relegation standard. But then also you look at the stats, Thomas Frank literally has the worst win rate of any Big Six manager in Premier League history. Is he simply the worst manager Spurs have ever had? Or is it maybe the squad that have let him down?
Well, we were saying it last year with Ange that he's the worst we've ever had. And it couldn't get any worse. And hey, a year later, look what's happened.
Spurs said, hold my beer.
But when he come in, we just won the European Europa League. And he said, I'm here to build on what Ange has done and all this it says. And it didn't take him long to start going, well, this team was 17th and the real fans this, and they don't understand. I think he got, I wouldn't say found out, because obviously he's never had a football career, but he's made a career out of being a coach, and it got him to where he got to, him to be even considered for the Spurs job. So he's done something right. We can't all just sit here and say he's been absolutely toilet, because he's worked his way up and he's got there. I just think this was one step too far. And it ain't as if he was coming into a happy, cohesive, well-run club like Brighton or something where you come in and go, all the tools are here. We just need you to do this one job. he's come into an absolute mess. Take the European trophy away, that 90 minutes, it would have been a real mess. So, you know, let's not get that wrong. So he's come in, and if he was blinded by the, you know, because the players he's nurtured and brought through, and then he's come in, he's got some household names, but he's come in, he stayed on holiday for 2 weeks, and we all knew he was the manager. And, you know, then he come in, we're all like, where's this press conference? He didn't even go on Zoom or StreamYard to say hello to everyone. He just stayed on his holiday. And then he's come in, and they bought him Kuda straight away. And then it was like, right, we get Paolini on loan. And then we got the 2 opportunist signings of Xavi and Moani on loan on the last day. So they definitely didn't help him out. We knew we lost Sonny. We knew we lost this. So you have to give him some, not leeway, but, you know, you have to factor in that the squad wasn't great. And we did have some longer-term injuries that were carrying through. We didn't expect to lose Solanke. Maddison went in pre-season. So there were things that were a bit out of his control. But at the start of the season, he still had a decent squad. And it proved that because we were up there a bit. But then once, I think the Bournemouth game, was for me. And then he come out and it just went downhill from there. And I think he panicked. And then the 2 games a week kicked in, and he's getting a few injuries. And he I think he just panicked and said, I'm shutting up shop here. You know, he might have come in and wanted to play attacking football, but I think it was quickly realised that he can't do that, or he was worried about that. And he tried to play defensive football and say, look, I'm starting from the back. We're going to shore up. We've let in more goals than ever. And nothing really changed. And then once that was happening, he's working on the defence. He's still in. He's under pressure, and rightly so. But you can't ignore the club didn't help him, and you can't ignore that we had big injuries. But he was supposed to be a coach. It was meant to turn, you know, water into wine. So that didn't happen either. So it is what it is, isn't it?
Kenty's bad timing should have been done much sooner instead of at the end of the season. I've always maintained, Saurin, that, and I think you and I were agreeing on this the other day, that this whole like squad was never good enough. Squad, you know, is deserving of where we are. I would say if we were around 10th, 11th in the table, these squad conversations not being good enough, I think would be totally relevant and totally a good thing to be talking about. But nobody at the beginning of this season was saying that this squad is relegation standard, that, you know, we should be behind teams like Sunderland. We should be behind teams like Brighton, teams, you know, like pretty much level with West Ham at this point, Leeds United, like Joe Rodon, right? Like no one would want Joe Rodon right now. They're a point ahead of us in the Premier League table. Teams like Leeds United, no one would take pretty much any of their players from Leeds United and put them into this squad. Crystal Palace for pretty much the same. Fulham are 5 points ahead of us right now. Pretty much no one would take any of Fulham's players and put them into our team right now. So that's my issue, is that, you know, people that make this claim that the squad is relegation standard, I'm pretty sure I wasn't hearing that at the beginning of this season when Frank first was brought in, because everyone was saying that Frank was going to do much better than Ange. He was going to coach them and, you know, tweak the tactics and put them in the right positions. He was going to put them into a back 3, back 5 when need be to solve things. He hasn't been able to do that, but I never heard that argument at the beginning of the season that this squad is relegation standard.
I mean, I've said this season, last season, season before that, the squad is better than the showing. We just haven't probably got the right managers in. But look, I think one thing we've got to look at, or for me personally, I don't know if you agree, but I think Thomas Frank has only ever got his tactics right once, and that was the PSG game in pre-season for the Super Cup, whatever it was. That's the only time I would sit there and think, do you know what? Damn, that was spot on the way he played that game. And ever since, we've sat here, and thought, don't get the team selection, don't get why he's playing that player there, don't get why he's doing that. Why has he dropped this player? Why has he dropped that player? And I can't think of another game where I sit there and think he got that spot on.
Yeah. Very, very few times I feel like we could say that he's got the lineup correct. You know, how many times have we felt like he's picked the wrong players even, you know, for a lineup, and then he has to correct it at, you know, halftime or 70 minutes into the game. Dibbity saying losing against 19th place Burnley and 18th place is his biggest crime, fraudship manager. And then we also have Tyler saying, I said 10th and 12th, which I think is fair. That's my point, is I think if we were sitting around 8th, 9th, 10th, even 12th, we would absolutely be having conversations about the squad needs to be better in order for him to really be challenging with the big boys.
I don't think the realistic fans of us thought he'd be getting 6th and challenging for Europe. We're like, most people are like 8th to 12th. In there, if he gets any higher, it's a bonus. But no, I don't think anyone was looking at him ripping up trees in that sense, but a bit of stability and getting us back up from the bottom half. And actually, he'd done that earlier, and all he's done is just rapidly get us back down now.
No one was predicting 15th or 16th with this squad. No one was predicting that. Even the most cynical of Spurs fans.
The one thing I'll say is, when he first came and you watched that game against PSG, and you had the windows still open and things like that, I didn't see why this club could not be challenging for Champions League places. But the fact that we didn't really get enough first-team starter players come through the door, the injuries haven't helped him. We can't sit here and say that, it's all been rosy for him and things have gone right. But there's been a hell of a lot of injuries to, again, key first team players. We're not talking about squad players. We're talking about key first team players. But he hasn't been backed. And I think the only time that you actually see the team look as though they can do anything is when they're already a goal or two down and they're having to play and they're having to attack. And if a manager can't sit there and see that our best tactical way of winning a match is by attacking, because these players seem to, they can come alive when we seem to attack, then you shouldn't be managing a Premiership team that had aspirations of being a top 6 club and competing on all 4 fronts. That's the problem. These owners want the big name, but they don't want to do anything about it. And us fans demand that, we still talk about Tottenham being a top 6 club. And at the moment, we're just a laughing stock. It's an absolute shambles of a club at the moment. And look, it might come right. It might take a season or two. One thing that I do find interesting in that statement was building for the future. Well, when is the future? I know the future is obviously tomorrow and going on, but when do they think the future is? 10 years, 5 years? This is the problem. And for a long
throwaway
time,
statement, isn't it?
Exactly. For a long time, the fans have demanded to know what the club are aiming for. Well, we got told Champions League, Premiership, competing on all 4 platforms. But the club haven't actually done anything to help us do that. So it just doesn't make sense. And look, I think it's one of those now where he has gone. And, where we've just said, is it the biggest decision the club have got to make? Yeah, because if they don't get it right, we could still go down. They have got to get this next appointment right.
Do you think the current set of players, Saurin, is good enough, though, to survive? Or do you think we are doomed no matter what and pretty much nobody could come in and get us out of this? Do you think the players we have right now are capable, though, of being turned around and being able to get us out of this?
I think it's a yes and a no answer, to be honest with you, because yes, I do think we've got enough to win 3 or 4 more games. Four games, I would say, should be enough. But if it's not done soon and it's not the right person, then no. But you look at it as well. Any more injuries, and we are absolutely knackered.
Yeah,
we've just lost Wilson Odobert today with ACL. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
People last year were blaming Ange and the way he trains and his tactics. Well, what are you blaming this year? Because it obviously isn't that. There is something fundamentally wrong within this club. And I think it's about time we started looking at the pitch and things like that, because something's not right.
We've gone from Ange Postecoglou hamstrings to now ACLs has been the one under Thomas Frank, which is actually.
I'll take the hamstrings. I'll take the hamstrings over the ACLs.
Hamstrings for 200, please.
Exactly. It's it's just absolutely. I mean, to me, you're kind of looking at it and think it's got to be something to do with like the training pitches or something like that, because obviously we don't play on our
There's
pitch
got to be
every week.
something in it. It can't just be bad luck.
Yeah,
It just
I mean,
can't.
it can't. And we've changed the medical team, and we've changed the backroom staff. So surely that should have changed the way we're training and things like that. But look, any more injuries, and yeah, I mean, we basically are probably knackered.
I'd rather just keep blaming Ange. It's a lot more fun that way. But Martin, Football London have reported ultimately Frank lost the confidence of the dressing room as well as the fans. He put his faith in a small core leadership group of players. Some of those outside that main group would go days without even getting a word from him on an individual basis, and few knew where they even stood with him. Do you think the players started downing tools with Thomas Frank, or was it just a tactical mismatch and that he just wasn't the right manager to get the most out of
I'll just go one more on that. My son sent me something this morning from Matt Law. It says Frank is said to have regularly referenced the strengths of Tottenham's North London rivals in team meetings, much to the frustration of some of the players. One source told the Telegraph Sport he was constantly going on to the players about Arsenal, and they quickly got sick of it. Even before and after the game at the Emirates, he was telling them how good Arsenal were. The feeling amongst some was very much just shut up about Arsenal. So if he's doing that and they're feeling like that, then no, the players ain't with him. I think you could see last night clearly they weren't with him.
Yeah.
Sarah from the Spurs side or whatever she's called. Sorry if I got that wrong and you're watching Sarah. But she said she was watching Frank last night on the side from the stands, and he was shouting at the players and said they weren't even looking at him. They weren't even listening to him. They was just totally ignoring him.
Yeah.
I think we've heard that before, Martin, with other teams as well, not just ours, where
of course, yeah.
You know, people have said, oh, they can hear the manager shouting and everybody's ignoring them. But the one thing I would be very careful with at the moment is all these rumours that are now going to start coming out. And,
I know, but that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, I think at the end of the day, I don't think the players did give him their all, but I don't think he'd necessarily lost them as well. I just don't think.
Do you think they stopped believing in the tactics? It's not
like
I don't think
they bought into it. Yeah, they didn't buy into it.
I think you know, we saw, you know, people like Mickey van der Ven and Romero and Solanke and Richie. They all came out when Ange was in charge and saying, we love this type of football. You've gone total opposite to a very defensive style of football now.
They can't love that.
I just don't think that they enjoyed playing. As much as we didn't enjoy watching it, I don't think they enjoyed playing that way. But as professionals, they kind of had to, but it just didn't suit them. And, you know, I mean, we sit here and say the professionals, they should be able to play any way the manager tells them to. And I agree with that. But for the last 2 years, we've aimed at getting a very attacking squad. And then we bring in a defensive manager and say to these attacking players, go and defend. I mean, we said all along under Ange, Porro couldn't defend for his life half the time, but yet, you know, we're expecting him to be a defensive.
But then they get him Paolini, only puts Paolini on the bench. So
exactly,
whatever he's done doesn't make sense. We've got Xavi, bench him. We've seen this season when we have played in spells going forward, we look much better. The players look much more comfortable. Whether we're going to be world beaters from that point, but they look more comfortable. And we've sat here and said, right, that's got to be the blueprint. That's got to be the minimal. And then he goes up and does something completely different again next week. And, you know, he knocks Sar's confidence, Xavi's confidence. Paolini's sitting on the side going, why am I out? You know, and then Basuma's been frozen out all season. Then Paolini's sitting there in a must-win game looking at Basuma running around on the pitch. You know, he's done a lot of things bad in the man management side and tactical side. So if the players ain't buying into it anyway, then he's only going to compound and isolate players. Like Sar was doing nothing wrong. Whatever people think of Sar, some love him, some don't see what he does. But he was doing well at the beginning. Pre-season, he was coming in, he was the one scoring the goals. And then all of a sudden, he went, right, no, you're not even in the squad. And I don't think he really played up until he went away to the African nations, did he? He hardly got a go.
No.
You know, so there's one player you've ostracised. So then if he's got two mates, they're going to be back in Sar. And then Chavi's sitting on, so I've just come in here at 50 million quid. You pay me 200 grand a week. You're sitting on a bench. Pauline is going, yeah, I left Bayern Munich for this. And they talk. And they're going to talk behind his back. So if you've just got half a dozen that are doing, and you drop your level 5-10%, they're not going to walk out on the pitch and stand still and go, I'm not playing for you. They still play and do what he tries to do. But, you know, it doesn't mean they buy into it and they're excited to do it. Because if you come in and someone makes you feel $1 million and then you go out there and they run through walls for them, you know, that's a lot of it is the man management. The tactics can go by the by, but if you've got to have them on side for your tactics to work.
I think it was a bit of both with him. I think they stopped believing in the tactics, mostly because we were losing every game. So at a certain point, you're going to kind of start questioning if he's really set you up to win. But then also it did seem like maybe the man management was starting to play a factor, and that players that were playing well were being dropped. Guys weren't really being put in the right position to succeed as well, and being, you know, used to the best of their abilities to try to get the most out of them. And I did wonder as well if he didn't have that almost likeness that Ange did. You know, a lot of the players still seem to have a lot of love for Ange. I'm not sure if there was really a lot of love for Thomas Frank, it seemed like, from a lot of these players. It's not like it was Conte levels or Jose levels where it's like half the squad absolutely hates him and then the other half absolutely loves him. But it seems like maybe with Thomas Frank, and that there wasn't really anybody that seemed to really be.
But Jack, he's a nice guy, so it's hard probably to dislike him or hate or have a strong thing for him. That's
kind of, they seem probably like, probably they were kind of just numb towards him, it seems like, you know, most of the players, and then numb towards his tactics. We're going to bring Dave back in. By the way, everybody, it seemed like Thomas Frank decided to cut Dave's internet for a sec there because he knew that he was going to absolutely go off on him. Please, everybody, if you can, as you're coming in, please smash the like button for us. Please send this out to more and more people. And if you want to bring up your comments, or if you wanted to get your opinion in, you're welcome to do it in the chat, or you're welcome to do it as a super chat if you want to support the channel and get it seen amongst everybody so that we can discuss it. But Dave, just the point we were just on is, do you think the players were downing tools under Thomas Frank, or do you think just tactically it was just all wrong from the get-go?
Well, I think tactically it was a mismatch from the get-go, to be honest with you, Jack. I think, you know, there was no clear sort of patterns of play or any clear sort of philosophy. The style of play felt basic and reactive rather than actually proactive, which is what Spurs fans expect their team to do. We consistently set up to respect the opposition regardless of their level as well. Like some of them easy running games before we come into February, if we just went after them teams, like they're already coming in low on confidence, talking West Ham, you know, Bournemouth, Burnley, teams like that who haven't won a game in like, you know, 10, 12, 13 games. And we sit off and we allow them to build themselves into the game, get comfortable, build up confidence. You know, and by then you're already in a game by the time we end up deciding to go for them. And, you know, that's why we haven't won any of them games. That's why we've been beaten by all them teams. You know, we consistently conceded the first goal, you know, because of this sort of a passive approach. And then, you know, when we did regain possession, then there was no attacking outlets high up the pitch, no outball whatsoever, which led to a lot of misplaced passes in our own half. Counterattacks were almost impossible due to the lack of structure. You know, Dominic Solanke sitting back in doing what your midfielders should be doing. And then, you know, our whole attacking philosophy relied on long throws and fucking set pieces. I mean, it's absolutely so basic. At a club like Tottenham Hotspur, the lack of tactical sort of nous or sophistication is completely unacceptable. You know, he appeared solely to sort of focus on nullifying the opponents rather than imposing our own identity. And, you know, sort of nullifying opponents is an approach that's accepted at Brentford, not at Tottenham Hotspur. Our approach has to be sort of imposing our own identity on them games. And then, you know, you look at, like, you know, we're expected to sort of press, play, either dominate possession or just take the game to the opposition. And Frank completely failed to do that. You know, at Brentford, his team, and this is something that I forgot when I initially made my video about Thomas Frank in the first place, when I didn't agree with the appointment, that his Brentford team had the fewest passes in the first half of games and started passive in the first half of games. We've seen that rinse and repeat at Tottenham Hotspur this season. Now, a lot of people have put that down on the quality of the squad, but if it's happened at Brentford and it's happened at Tottenham Hotspur, it's more of a tactical flaw on Thomas Frank than it is speaks to actual sort of quality of the squad in that regard. You know, so Thomas Frank is a major issue in that sort of regard. then you look at sort of the leadership and the mentality, Jack. You know, a manager's job isn't just about tactics, by the way. You know, everyone's focused when it came to Thomas Frank about tactics. But if you go back and listen to Pochettino's recent interview with the High Performance Podcast, he speaks at this sort of level. It's not just about tactics. You also have to have this sort of psychological approach almost to players. And that's one thing I think Thomas Frank severely lacked. You know, Thomas Frank's job is to sort of inspire belief and ambition within the squad. Now, previous managers like Jose, Conte, and Postecoglou, when they walked into this football club, they spoke about the size of the club, they talked about silverware, and, you know, sort of framed Tottenham and its fan base as the servant of that success, and that they were going to be the guys to deliver it. Now, we won a Europa League. Frank walks in off the back of that, and this is his quote. As I said to the staff on the first day here, I promise you one thing is 100% for sure. We will lose football matches. I haven't seen a team not losing any football matches. Hang on, there is Arsenal that we can't mention. So I made my first rookie mistake there. Now, some would argue, oh, well, it was realistic. But the message lacks ambition and belief. You know, when you've got a squad in there that have Europa League medals hanging around their neck. You know, you got a World Cup winner in there in Romero and some other players that have won in other countries and stuff like that. Straight away, you're off board. You're off board with that messaging because you have that hunger, you have that appetite. And this guy's coming in telling you you're going to lose games. He's not feeding that hunger or that appetite. So you're already at a losing battle, you know, from the very off in terms of already some of them players already switching off. You know, it's absolutely madness. The best managers walk in and they make people dream. They make people believe. It's the same with the fan base. Thomas Frank failed to do that at Tottenham Hotspur, you know, and that's a big part on why this sort of has failed. You also go and look at, you know, he was supposed to come in here and develop players, right? What players has he really developed really outside of Udebur, which you could argue was going to be a natural progression anyway? The talent was already there. You know, at Brentford, everyone credited him with developing players. I sat there and I said, how much can we really credit to Thomas Frank and how much should you actually credit to what's the Brentford manager's or owner's name, Matthew Benham, you know, because he owns basically a gambling company and he's made his money from exploiting bookies and exploiting holes in the market. And then what he done is he bought Brentford Football Club. He's come up with this data-led sort of scouting system, and whatever data he used from his previous company, they built one for the transfer market, and it's designed to find undervalued players in the market that despite manager and stuff, they predict is going to hit a certain value and a certain level in terms of ability. And people miscredited, you know, and give all the credit to Thomas Frank, when a lot of it, and you look at what Brentford have done since Thomas Frank has left, a lot of it should have actually been credited to Brentford's owner. So there was a lot of misnomer around Thomas Frank in the first place. At the end of the day, the job was always too big for him. He never, ever had the credentials for a job of this size. You know, you look at it in terms of fixture schedule, for instance. One thing I pointed out, everyone's like, oh, he's going to come in, he's going to be on the training pitch, he's going to coach. What time did he have to coach at Tottenham once the season really got going with European football? And that's where he needed to come in with a certain style, a certain system of play that is easy to roll out every couple of days. And he failed to do that. He misjudged that in the summer. Pre-season was a massive snapshot of what to expect this season. If anyone goes back and remembers pre-season, created barely any opportunities, even against some teams lower down and stuff like that. And it's a massive snapshot of what to expect this season. He should never have been given the job in the first place. The job was always too big for him. He lacked the experience at this level. He's never, ever had to manage a Premier League campaign alongside a European campaign, ever. He should never have been given the job from the very beginning.
Saurin, why did it take the board this long? You know, 17 Premier League matches and only 2 wins. They didn't sack him in January. They didn't sack him in December. What was the reason for keeping him this long? Why didn't they pull the trigger sooner?
Absolute fucking muppets. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Probably,
you know,
I don't. But it's hard
great.
to explain stupid. You can't explain stupid sometimes, I guess. Or
I mean, it's one of those that I just think that for once, they probably wanted to try and be patient with a manager, and credit to him for that. But it was the wrong manager and the wrong person. You know, I mean, I've sat here, you know, and said that we need to be patient and we need to back him and things like that. But if you're not going to back these managers properly that you get in, then don't bother getting them in. And look, you sat there and you know, Dave just said that we need a manager to come in, and I think Chris Cowling said it on one of the interviews that he was doing, or somebody said, and the difference between Frank and Ange. Ange came in and said, we're going to win something. We're going to win a trophy. We're going to win this. We're going to win that. And then you got Frank. And I think that's probably what Poch, for all those people wanting Poch, that's probably what he's going to do. He's been on an interview saying Tottenham, they should be wanting to win the Premiership. They should be wanting to win the Champions League. That's the type of message that our players, these players that people think aren't good enough, that can go off and win a World Cup or, like you say, European champions from last season. They want to hear that they're going to come out and they're going to win games. We all know we're going to lose some games. We all know it. It's inevitable. But you don't want to hear that. You want to hear you're the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, Maddison, you could go out there and totally control this game. This is made for you. Solanke, oh, this is a game you're going to put 4 or 5 in the net. These are the sort of things that you want to hear. I would love to have heard what Thomas Frank would have said to these players before that European Championship, European final, compared to what Ange said. That's the difference between them. Same as Conte telling us, the mentality at this club is not a winning mentality. It's we want this or we want that, and that's success. No, this is where this club fails every single time. We do not get a manager in that gives us the right atmosphere, the right feeling, the feeling that we are unbeatable. When Poch was at this club, and I love Poch, I don't know if he's the right manager to come back, but when Poch was in charge of this team, or not this one, but obviously Tottenham, you never thought you was going to lose a game. You always thought, even if we went 1-0 down, we would score in the 95th minute. We would score some point. You always felt that we could do something.
But we played to score, though, Saurin. That was the big thing on the Poch.
But the point was that if you went 1-0 down or 2-0, you always felt that you could still win the game. Under Frank, even before the opposition had scored, you always felt we were going to lose the game. There was no sort of. Look, I've sat here and every week I tell you I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win. But that's the positive in me. That's the the bubble world, whatever you want to call it. But in reality, we all know as a fan that I can't bring myself to say we're going to lose a game. But you sit there about.
But your manager will.
No, but you sit there and you're about to kick off and you think, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, last night, I said 3-1, blah, blah, blah. And the kickoff was there and I was sat watching it. And I just felt to myself, I don't know if we're going to win this. And as soon as they, within 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, you knew this wasn't our game. This was not our game. We cannot start a game and put them under the front, and be attacking. So we need that manager to come in and give us the bubble world that I live in sometimes. That's what we need. It's all right talking about, a lot of people are saying about De Zerbi to come in. He's not the right manager for us. He's too volatile. He'll be gone within a season. He'll either walk or the board will sack him because they couldn't get on with him.
He'll come in like Tasmanian devil, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And he'll be gone.
I understand where people are saying we need to bring Poch back because Poch loves the club. Poch understands what this club needs. Poch, Poch this, Poch that, whatever you want to say. I don't know if he's the right person, but we need that style of management. We need somebody to come in, pick these players up and say, you are the best. Full stop. You can go out and win this game. And if we get that, we'll be all right. But if we just go and get some random manager again, then it just won't work.
He probably would have said, I guarantee you we could lose this final if he was taking charge of the Europa League final. Dave, social media pictures were poking fun at Thomas Frank and portraying him as an obsessive Arsenal fan were not just shared amongst us Spurs fans, but also members of the Tottenham staff and players. Is this a worse reflection on Thomas Frank, or is it maybe a bad reflection on the staff and the players? I find that to be absolutely shocking if it's true.
Well, I think if people are sharing it around inside, the players and coaching staff and all, then clearly, there's some sort of joke there somewhere. But it's also, I think, a sign that they don't really respect the guy, to be brutally honest with you. I think that's the biggest thing I take away from it. And at the end of the day, he's done it himself. He mentioned Arsenal as, the invincible Arsenal side, off the back of saying 100% guarantee you we're going to lose games. Then you combine it with the cup, stuff like that. And, I don't know how true the Abbott reports broke today that he was, I don't know whether it's a meme or not, but people saying that he constantly were talking about how good Arsenal were and stuff. And I'm not being funny.
Yeah, Matt Law said it.
But when you look at the style of play we implement on the pitch and we try and win games by set piece, it almost feels like the guy fucking idolizes Arsenal, to be honest with you. They're not great in possession and they rely on a lot of set pieces in games and stuff like that. And it almost seems like that the guy is a huge fan of what's going on over there. And for me, it's no surprise whatsoever. Look, I didn't think he was going to be the right guy in the first place to inspire the team, inspire the fans. I thought once he came in and said you're going to lose games, he's already automatically lost some of the dressing room. And then when you also see the likes of Mickey Van de Ven walking off, Jed Spence walking off after the Chelsea game, ignoring him and stuff like that. I mean, the writing was on the wall that nobody in the club was having this guy. You look at when Ange was under pressure, you had the players, in with the fans, Matisse Tell trying to talk round to them and everything else. With Thomas Frank, you didn't really see that. You didn't. The only one you really seen that really went and tried and do that for him was João Palhinha, but no one else. So and when you see, what we see on the football pitch, it was clear that no one was having them. It's no coincidence that when we were 2-0 down most of the time and we went for it in the second half, which is easy to do, by the way, and I think people, again, misconfuse this with Thomas Frank about he knows how to change games in game. Well, no, if you're 1 or 2 behind and you take the handbrake off and you allow your team to go from it and abandon your tactics, then, and they get back into the game. That's not you being a genius and that's you changing the game. That just means you've got nothing to lose. You've abandoned everything you've worked on during the week and you're telling your team to go for it. And when we done that, we look much better in games. And I'm surprised that Thomas Frank didn't realize that and start playing on the front foot. These players don't want, a lot of these players came in under Ange Postecoglou. It was attack, play this way at all costs. Go after the opposition. Don't show them any respect. Show no fear. And then this guy comes in and tells them to sit back, respect them. I respect them that much, Solanke. I don't even want you playing striker today. You can play in beside fucking João Palhinha as a DM. Yesterday against Newcastle for the first goal, he's practically playing centre-back. He was that deep. Absolutely embarrassing. So for me, it was clear from what we were seeing on the football pitch that these players just did not like Thomas Frank, in my opinion. Since he's gone, how many players have we really seen come out with post? That we usually see. Like when Ange went, how many players?
Yeah, 2 players, I think, have come
managers. Out. I think so far I've only seen 2. So for me, he was a laughing stock with the fan base. I've no doubt he's probably a laughing stock within the club as well.
Yeah, be curious if Romero comes out and has any condolences for him. Faz Radfar saying Frank took 5 points from City, a leg up to Arsenal. Probably one of the most Arsenal loving managers we've had, Martin, right? From the Arsenal Cup, which Dave and I were joking will kind of be his legacy. It kind of seems like, that picture.
It is, though, isn't it? It's like when that come out after the game, I was watching and it was like, no, that's AI. And everyone was like, AI. And it's like, no, it's real. The press got it, not some. And then he come out and the way he dismissed it. Well, it was just a cup in the thing. You're in a Spurs dressing room. Don't tell me out that 30 odd people that are in there, not one person went, Gaffer, you got an Arsenal cup in your hand. Someone's made it for me. I've even done it himself. So for that, and he plays it down. It's that.
Speaking of that Arsenal Cup, was it someone within our coaching team or playing staff having a joke with Thomas Frank? Because if that reports by Matt Law is true, that he continuously went on about Arsenal, then maybe it wasn't someone sabotaging or setting him up. Maybe it was a joke.
And he's that stupid that he hasn't realised. And the way he played it down was like, what, it's just a cup. It was in there before. But then I showed the picture of one of the coaches or staff just staring at him on the pitch like, what are you doing? But I just don't think he got it in that sense. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, that's a bit worrying, you know,
Yeah.
that if he is like, if all these things are coming out, you've got to take them with a pinch of salt, but there's always some truth in it, whether it's the full truth, half truth, there's some truth in it. And, you know, if he's coming out and, you know, praising Arsenal every time, and then he's got the Arsenal Cup and he's doing this, and then when he comes out against Arsenal, if he likes them that much, he just sat back and went, right, come on, show us what you can do. We're going to sit back and make it really easy for you. He just doesn't help himself. And everything points to him that everything you want to throw at him with the Arsenal thing now will stick because it can all fit to him. Because he's done nothing to help himself.
Worst performance of the season, North London Derby. We paid them so much respect. We sat off them for the full 90 minutes. You know, all feeds into this Arsenal thing. Look, at the end of the day, that's just a sideshow. The reality is, as much as this is on the ownership, as much as Vinay and Johan Lang need to go, which I'll speak about in a minute, Thomas Frank was also a massive part of the problem. You know, now it doesn't mean him going is going to fix everything. Of course not. We still have issues. But the way he set up the team, the messaging he was giving to the team, to the fan base, you know, everything else, it was just the wrong appointment. It was just never going to work. And we have given him more than enough time to try and get green shoots, to try and come out the other end. And we were just slipping closer and closer and closer to relegation with every game and every day this was going on. As much as the board need to take a lot of flack, and most of the flack, as much as Vinay and Lang need to be held accountable, this guy was not the manager that everyone painted him up to be. And so much so that now the debate has come out about our squad is absolutely shit, even though a lot of fans would have took most of them signings on the previous managers that we made in the summer, in January. The reality is the guy was just not a good manager for a club like Tottenham. It was all wrong. You know, how many times after games do we come out on the narrow side of the loss? And he goes, well, it was a good performance, fine margins, but we competed. That's stuff that's acceptable at Brentford.
Doing the good things right.
Tottenham Hotspur. You know, he was just not the right guy for the job, and he is a massive part of the problem. You can't excuse him just under the guise of Johan Lang, Vinay, or Enoch. They will all get their fair share of blame now that Frank is gone. But this guy was not right for Tottenham Hotspur, and to be honest with you, I've held back, but I'm glad he's gone.
Can I just add on with, like, I texted into or messaged in last night when the game was going. You could see the tactic yesterday was coming from the left or the right at the back, pump it up to Odegaard on the right-hand side, and letting, after the first 2 minutes, he had a run on Dan Burn, and you thought, right, this is a tactic. Now we're pinging balls down. He goes off injured. He puts Tell on the left to congest the side with Chavi and all that. They were all getting confused. And then he's leaving it open, and Santa Gallagher, filling a bit over there. Like, that was just mental. If your tactic was that, you take it away, at least try and fill that gap and still try and stick that tactic. He just completely abandoned it and went, no, we're not doing that no more. We're going to do something completely different. We're going to congest the left. We're going to leave Dan Burn alone because he ain't got the pace to play against our players. So we'll let him have a day off and he can just defend. And it was just, I was just sitting there, I was astonished.
Put Gallagher at right wing. Can't make it up. I do think he was probably one of the most Arsenal-loving fans, Faz, or Arsenal-loving managers. Everything from losing to Arsenal more, I think, bigger than any other Spurs manager had in a long time. I think that was one of the worst losses we've ever had away from home to them. But then also the cup he's probably name-dropped Arsenal more times than any other manager has in press conferences. And it seems like even behind the scenes, it seems like he would name-drop them far too much.
The team we should have mentioned, well, you're mentioning it. Just don't say it.
Adam Horlock saying last roll of the dice for the Lewis family on Pochettino, and he's saying big up Dave. Happy or unhappy? I can't tell. I think because Dave, in one moment he looks relieved, but in the other he's still stressed about what's to come. Really, Adam.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm delighted Frank is gone. I was one of the only ones out there in the summer that stuck my neck on the line to say I think we're making a massive mistake here. I took a lot of flack for it, a lot of heat for it. But the reality is, I don't want to be in this situation. We're still in this situation, even though that fraud's gone. But the good thing is, you know, bring someone else in. It gives me hope that we can get out of this, because with him, I'd lost all faith.
Thank you for the support, by the way, Adam. And good to have you in here with us. And then Dropkick Your Teacher as well, saying, Saurin, it's too late. We're still screwed with the state of the squad. Our trajectory is still relegation. It's a lose-lose stupidity. This was preventable. Do you think we're still screwed, Saurin?
Yes, and again, yes and no. I think it really does depend on who they bring in now. If they actually manage to get it right, which I've got no confidence in them doing, then we will be okay. But the odds on is that they won't get it right. That's the worry, that as much as everybody could see it's the right thing to have done, but probably at the wrong time, it should have been already done. And like most fans, I think it should have been done straight after the West Ham game. I honestly don't trust this board, owners, to actually get the right person in now. And I just think they'll absolutely screw it up. And look, some people are saying that the best thing that could happen is we get relegated. No, it is not the best thing. We have got to stay in the Premiership. And the one thing I think would save us right now, and this is where I agree with a lot of the fans talking about Poch, is if Poch came in tomorrow, if he was the one that they announced as manager, because that just, whether it's the right appointment or not, it actually gives the fan base, the players, and the people working at the stadium and the club and the training pitches, it's a name they know, it's a name they love, it's a name everybody wants. Whether it's the right one long term, I doubt, but it's the one.
Forget about it now. It's not happening
now. I know. But
yeah.
What I'm saying is, if that is probably the only one name that could come in now, and you would almost guarantee us as fans that we would stay up, because all of a sudden all the belief would just be there in one big pot. I don't think there's another name out there where you could say that's the guy that comes in and just gives everybody the belief that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Anyone else want to come in? Because I was trying to bring Saurin back in because I wanted him to have his say, Artist, but he's saying that was directed at everyone. I'm not sure if we're screwed no matter what, like that we're going to get relegated no matter what. I have faith that someone could come in and be able to right the wrongs and be able to get us out of this situation. I just think, he had to go because it was clear that we were headed towards relegation with Thomas Frank. But I do feel like someone could come in and fix this situation, unless anyone agrees with Artist.
Well, that is the remit, isn't it? Come in and make sure we stay up.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it, and I don't know. The only one I could think of that, if you're going into battle, who would you want to take with you? And it would be Roy Keane. Whether he would do that and whether he would get this out of these players, I don't know. But I just, from a mental capacity of what he would do, he take you into battle and he would lift them players up. And even if it is for the few games, it might work. But I don't see Robbie Keane leaving his job to come in for 13 games. I don't need, so all you're getting is the people that ain't in work. And if it's a proper manager, they're not going to want to come in 13 games. They want to throw their hat in the ring for the job. So the likes of talking Edin Terzic and things like that. And I don't know. I just think it's an hard one to try and think what was the right person for the job. But that's what they should have been planning. That's on them. This can't be a knee-jerk reaction to just last night and going, we've got to do it. This must have been spoke about for months. Yeah. And if they are, as I say, like, we're after a left winger. We ain't got one. There's no plan B. We're after a left back. No plan B. They just seem to have one decision, one thing, and then they don't have a succession plan in anything they do.
I'd hate to go to a restaurant with these owners. I feel like these owners would take a year over even deciding an appetizer at a restaurant. It seems like, let alone a manager.
Just
the only worry I have with this is, though, Martin, where you say Roy Keane and people like that, is have they got enough in their locker to actually turn this club around? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I think we need somebody like almost like a Gus Hiddink or somebody like that. I think it's got to be somebody who's a little bit Harry Redknapp. I don't think Harry's the right person, but it's got to be somebody who, as soon as he walks through the door, these players look and think they mean business. It's got to be somebody that these players instantly respect.
To me, when I look at the situation, I think if you bring in someone similar to Thomas Frank that plays similar to Thomas Frank, I think you're absolutely screwed. The squad is not suited to it, but I think we've given ourselves a chance now. We've rolled the dice. And I think you've got two options. You either bring in like someone like De Zerbi who's going to light a fire under people's ass and get a reaction that way, or you bring in someone of a Harry Redknapp ilk who will come in, tell them how great they are and focus on what they're good at rather than the opposition. But I think everyone's looking at it going, still through the Thomas Frank lens. You look at Man United. True Amarin, no Man United fans believed whatsoever. Now all of a sudden, Carrick's in charge. He came in, 4 wins and a draw or something like that. He's got something completely different out of it. They're playing more on the front foot. They're going after teams. A team under Amarin that looked like couldn't score goals. Now all of a sudden, Man United are scoring goals. A lot of the reason like our players look crap is because the tactics made them look crap. I'm sorry to say it, but when you're dropping your striker in beside your centre midfield and just putting a blanket in, and we're still so easy to play because there's gaps everywhere, we're going to get absolutely railed every week like we've seen. But if you instruct this team to play more on the front foot, you will get more results out of it. You will look better. Our biggest problem under Thomas Frank is outside of set pieces, we had no real avenue of going to score a goal. That's not really down to players being crap. Don't get me wrong. There's some element of, Xavi Simons giving away the ball in stupid positions, Moani, players like that, what Conor Gallagher done yesterday. Mistakes are always going to happen in a football game. But I think a guy that comes in with a fresh voice, a fresh approach, and wants to go more after the opposition, I think you will see a lot more out of this squad personally.
Going to take some more comments here, and then we'll go on to some more deeper questions. Really do appreciate the support, artists. And then also Tom Lowry saying, here, boys, have a fiver. He was saying high five to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much, Tom. And thank you to Adam as well, saying it's the worst time to be appointing a permanent manager. This is the thing, man. Like, they should have done it in November, December, January already felt like it was too late, but they should have done it in January. Doing it at this stage, it does feel too late, but we'll just see if it ends up paying off.
It's definitely a panic. It's definitely, I think last night just, made them draw their hand to do it. I don't think they sat there and said, if you don't win tonight, he's gone. Like we've said, if he loses, we've got 12 days, get someone in, gives them time on the training ground. I don't think they thought that way. I think just last night was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the actual fact that reality was we could go down.
I think it's also the West Ham situation. I think it's the fact that they saw that West Ham were about to pick up a win against Man United, and then they probably finally realized they're like, shit, we really are 3 points away from being in the relegation.
What did West Ham do? They bought some attacking players, and all of a sudden they're scoring goals and picking up wins.
I think that was their worry, though. I think that's probably when they saw that game, and then they were like, we are now 5 points away, and we're lucky we're 5 points away.
It was free at the time, wasn't it?
It was free at the time. I think that's probably, it was a knee-jerk. I agree with you, Martin. I think you're giving them too much credit that they've based it on a footballing decision. I actually think they based it more on financial. You look at that Newcastle game yesterday, tickets all over online, available.
No one went.
Empty spaces everywhere. By the end of that game, Vince Vega, Vince Jack, he was at the game yesterday. He was taking videos of the crowd and sent me pictures, towards the end. Pockets of empty seats absolutely everywhere. And it's always said with this ownership, once people stop turning up and the revenue starts to get affected, that's when they will make change. And there's no surprise they acted when they did. If it was on football merit, they would have sacked them when we were still 4, 5, 6 points off Europe. They would have sacked them after the West Ham game. They probably could have sacked them after the Arsenal or the Chelsea game if it was based on football. For me, it's more based on finances. They looked at that and said, if that is like this for the North London Derby coming up, which, by the way, a lot of fans had easy times getting tickets for compared to seasons gone by, it will be made a massive deal of by all pundits, by TalkSport and everything else. It become a huge talking point that this is your biggest game of the season, and there's pockets of empty seats absolutely everywhere. Fans are leaving early, not staying till the final whistle and stuff like that. And then
there would have been so much focus on what's gone wrong at Tottenham. Why are fans unhappy at Tottenham Hotspur and stuff like that? So I think we're giving them far too much credit that they actually based this just purely on a footballer decision, and that the pockets of empty seats everywhere last night didn't have an effect on their decision.
Ben said today that he was outside the ground an hour before the match. He said it's like a ghost town outside. He said he couldn't believe it. He said he's never seen nothing like it. It was... They just people weren't there, but then they put out a 59,000 official attendance. That it couldn't have been right. You could see there was thousands of seats empty.
Yeah.
So they're even lying.
Adam saying
no way there were 59,000.
There was no way 59,000.
No.
More lying about attendance, classic move, even by politicians. Adam saying, mate, they would take a year of deciding over what restaurant, let alone what dish they would decide on the menu. J-Mac saying the squad needs someone who inspires and the players respect. That helps them enjoying the football that they're playing. And
that's all it needs to be, isn't it? It's just as simple as that. Just get the players on side for a few matches. Bit of belief.
K32 saying, well, Frank finally gets a sack, and on a human level, I feel sorry for him, but it has to be sacked. Good to have you, K32. Hopefully everything's all good with you. And thanks to everyone else for the comments. And again, if you want to put in your opinions, we'll put them up on screen. And if you want to do what Adam has done, what Tom has done, what Dropkick Your Teacher has done, we would appreciate it. Sorry, Saurin. Or Dave, whichever one of you.
I was just going to say really quickly, what the club should actually do right now is get in touch with Poch, get him to sign a pre-contract, and then go and get your interim and tell us what's happening. Yes, Poch is coming in the summer, and if you've got him to sign a pre-contract or give his word that he's coming, start asking him what players he wants. Start planning for that summer to get the players in he wants.
You're talking like we're a real club.
Well, I know, but that's what a real club would do.
Exactly.
Dave wasn't even giving us the credit of them doing a footballing decision, which I probably is actually spot on. Paul Brown, good to see you as well. He's saying last night, just embarrassing, to be honest. Good to have you, Paul. And then Betto, we are going to be putting the link out. Once we're done here, we're going to be putting the link out for people to come on and have their say. Good to have you with us, and top of the morning to you as well, Betto. It sounds like you're probably on the West Coast if you're still enjoying this morning and waking up to this news. Good to have you with us. Good to see Gary in as well.
Just quickly, I also want to say, with the sacking of Thomas Frank, I'm not being funny, but I would like to see the sacking of Vinay and Johan Lang. I would have liked to see them go with them, to be brutally honest with you, because Frank's not the only one that's responsible for how this unfolded. At the end of the day, Vinay and Johan Lang should also be held accountable. They were behind this appointment, according to Paul O'Keefe. And their role basically is to make strategic decisions and anticipate outcomes. And the fact that we're now in a relegation battle suggests a major sort of misjudgment on their behalf. And does anyone really have the confidence in them to make the right decisions moving forward based off of this season and basically what their job and their remit is? So for me, their lack of sort of foresight and stuff like that, it's put our Premier League status at risk. They should also follow with Thomas Frank.
Yeah, they're all in bed together drinking out the same cup, aren't they? They're all culpable, all of them.
Dave, do we need an emergency specialist right now to save our skins, or should we appoint an interim that can maybe hold the nerve and maybe wait for that world-class manager that we could bring in the summer? What would you do?
Look,
can you do both? Could you bring in like kind of an emergency interim type manager?
For me, I think there's certain people out there like Tim Sherwood's put his name forward. I think, you're listening to Harry Redknapp, he sort of put his name forward. You've probably got Mason you might be able to bring back in, to come in on an interim basis. And I think there are options there that, that you could try and bring in that will get you to the end of the season. You've, of course, got Johnny Heiting in the club as well, who has previously managed Ajax and stuff like that. So they're probably the interim options maybe you're looking at. Outside of that, you've either got then probably De Zerbi, Xavi, who's still on the market, and I think Robbie Keane is also a name that's sort of been mentioned. Robbie Keane ain't going to take this job on an interim, basis based on the reputation he's built himself at Ferencváros. His next move in terms of his career has to be the right one. And I just don't think he'll leave there and take this club on an interim basis, because basically you're like, even if you bring in Robbie Keane, you're basically like saying, to any manager, even De Zerbi right now. And I don't think they'll be stupid enough to do this. That realistically, you've got until the end of the season. And even if you do well, they still might make a change and bring Pochettino in after the World Cup. So right now, I do think we will be bringing in a manager on an interim basis. And that's probably the route I would go down, because you look at managers available in this summer. You've got Glasner's contract is up. The guy at PSG's contract is up. You've got Silva's contract is up. Iriola won't be in Bournemouth beyond this summer. You've got all the big world-class managers coming out of the World Cup. So for me, and to be honest, what I think this club needs is someone that has a massive reputation behind them, a massive long CV behind them in terms of managing Europe and domestic campaigns. Someone that has a bit of history on their CV in terms of silverware and stuff like that. This is what this club needs moving forward. So for me, it just makes sense to do an interim between now and the end of the season rather than knee-jerk into a long-term appointment right now.
Good to see you, Steve D. By the way, he's saying some people are saying Harry's too old. Don't understand what Harry does. He makes people feel like they're 10 feet tall and makes them believe in themselves. I think that's what Dave was alluding to, is maybe an interim manager that can sort of gas up these players a little bit, get them their confidence back and have them at least believe in themselves again, instead of being told that they will guarantee lose games like Thomas Frank was. Martin, would you bring in some emergency specialist, Sam Allardyce style guy right now? Should we be looking at a different type of interim manager? Should we be making a permanent appointment? What should we be doing?
I think it's too late for Sam Allardyce. There's not enough time to do something. For me, it would be Harry Redknapp to come in and make you feel 10 foot tall, and I'd have Sherwood in there, although I don't like him. I'd have him in there as number 2 to give them the kick up the arse they need when they need that. So you've got your perfect balance, hopefully, because we just need something. It's not a long-term plan. And I agree with Dave, we ain't going to get the manager we want now. If we do, it's going to be someone from out the blue that no one's thought about. So to come in, we just need the players to get on side, get them believing, let them play football. Ask them, what didn't you like? What don't you like? What do you want to do? Include them in it. Do whatever it takes to not get us, because I've been worried for a while about this relegation, and we're getting closer and closer to it, and it's very real now. And it's 3 games. If we lose the next 3 games and West Ham pick up 1 or 2, that's us in the bottom. And then you're going to ask the players to get yourself out of it. We've got to try and get out of it now while we've got a cushion. So they need to come in and just I say, you ain't going to get anyone like Robbie Keane going to leave his job unless they give him promises you're getting a full-time job. He is not going to leave a full-time job where he's building a good career. He could do well for himself and build his CV up to then come in and go, you're in a relegation battle, and then all of a sudden he's got relegation on his CV. I just don't see it. And I wouldn't want that to him. I love him. He was brilliant for us, running along, watching him roll over and shoot his machine gun into the crowd. You can't help but love him, and he's a likable guy. Do you know what I mean? I met him a couple of times, and he was just sweet as a nut, so I just wouldn't want that for him. But beggars can't be choosers at the minute. But who we ever do choose, it has to be right, because there is no time left to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Like Man United had Fletch for a couple of games, but they was talking to Carrick, but they couldn't. Fletch lost 2, and then Carrick's come in and turned it round. So they knew what they were doing. We can't afford to come in and lose 2 or 3 and then be 9 games left to go. And then, West Ham have got a bit of momentum. Leeds have got a bit of momentum. And also, then they're too far away from us. And then you're on the mission impossible. We just cannot get to that point. It has to be right. But I think, someone like Harry, and, it's not like a long-term plan for Harry. I'm sure he still gets out of bed early, and he'd still have to come and just mingle with the guys and GM up and just be part of it again. And that's all it can take. It can be a small element to make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Saurin, where are you also on that question? Interim, or, would you be going down the De Zerbi route or Robbie Keane route or Xavi route in terms of trying to make a permanent appointment? Because look, at the end of the day, I think the club have given the players 5 days off now, which means they've practically until Monday to make this decision.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think under different circumstances and a different attitude, De Zerbi would be a good option because I think his style of football would maybe suit us. But I just think he's another Conte. It's just an explosion waiting to happen. Robbie Keane, like I said, I don't think he'll come because unless he's got the chance of a permanent job, then why come? Why come for a couple of months when you've got a full-time job and you know you could have a very good run in Europe, you could do well in his league. I know people say it's impossible, but if a big club, if they really wanted Poch now, would just go to American team and say, there's 20, 30 million, we want Poch now. And if you want him in the summer to take him through the, tournament, that's fine. But bring him in now. I don't understand why we couldn't bring him in, come to some agreement with the American team because they're not together at the moment. It's not going to make a difference to the American team if we actually got him in. So I don't understand why we couldn't get him in now. But I don't.
The Americans would probably worry that we injure him. He gets an ACL tear as a manager.
I just don't. I love Harry Redknapp. I think he's an absolute star and he's a legend. But again, I just don't think, if we brought him in under no capacity and just said, just mingle with the players, Harry, make them feel good. I could see that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know what the answer is because I think
Harry would be good to come in as an assistant, as a number 2 for someone that's maybe more in touch with the modern game.
He just wants to be walking around. Yeah, just walk around the training pitch and put his arm around some players and give them the love that they need.
Driving in the training ground with his arm out the window down.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Harry's back.
I just don't know who the right person is to come in because I think for us to get that manager bounce, it's almost got to be that Poch name or something like that. But I understand it's virtually impossible, but virtually and actually impossible are two very different scenarios. If I was the board now and I was absolutely serious, that'd be the phone call I'd be making right now.
You honestly think the USA football government body will allow Poch out of his contract ahead of a World Cup?
But what's to say he's got to come out? I mean, why can't he do both? We've seen it before. Why can't he come to us and then as soon as the season's ended, he's back to the national team for
2 words? Donald Trump.
I don't think he would. I don't think you don't see that as much anymore. You don't see international managers doing
what
both.
Is he doing right now?
Not really a thing anymore.
What is he doing right now? They're not together. They're not training. They're not. He could do both.
He's got a few more high performance podcast interviews, I think, that he's doing right now.
He could do both. I mean,
probably on Diary of a CEO next. I think that's what he's probably doing next. I'm probably pro just interim manager. I don't want to miss out on the summer market of the Pochettinos, the Tuchels, all the guys, Nagelsmann. There's so many good names out there this summer. I'm not sure about bringing in a permanent manager right now. It feels like it'd be like a Ruben Amorim type situation too. If we brought in a permanent manager right now, like, is he really going to be able to get in any of his ideas? It's more just sort of about just winning games, getting us out of trouble, not really about instilling any sort of philosophy or anything like that. So I'm not even sure if we would see the benefits of bringing in a permanent manager right now at this stage. It's probably bringing in some type of specialist that can get you out of this type of situation as quickly as possible. And then I think we move on to someone else in the summer. I think that's probably the best move, really. Let's take it to this stage, though, where this is the first major sacking since Daniel Levy's departure, Saurin. Does this feel like the same old Tottenham, or do you trust Vinay and the new hierarchy to break the cycle? So far, not off to a good start.
I think that's the most stupid question to me all night, seeing as what I've been saying all night. Yeah, I do not trust this board or these owners as far as I could throw them. Look, I heard a great one earlier. We're all calling for him to have gone, and then you get the reporters coming on. Oh, it's the third manager under this regime, and third manager this season, and that's 19 or 20 managers since Enoch took over, and you just think you can't win. It's it's just one of those that I think it doesn't matter whether we've sacked him. It doesn't matter. The only thing that is important now is who is in charge at the Arsenal game.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's important now. Who is in charge at the Arsenal game and for the rest of the season? Full stop.
Probably put Romero in charge. Might as well. He's not even be able to
He'll
play.
do it later, so yeah.
Do you trust them to break the cycle, Martin?
I don't trust anything they do. They're good with their words. They come out. We've got a point system, and Frank was leagues above everyone. He was the outstanding candidate. And as Dave said, his first conference, he come in and he went, "We're going to lose games, So I don't know what boxes they were ticking, but he's not good with comments. I just don't know. And I think just the silence they've had, and then we get Gallagher in just before the protests and they put statements out. I just think they are buying as much time as they can, right, to cover their own arses, right? So whether Frank's the fall guy or whether they scupper the protests or whatever they're doing, it is just purely to buy time as much as they can. I think they was just trying to limp through to, they might well have spoken to Poch and he said, "Look, I can't say nothing now. I'm going into a World Cup. I can't have, the whole of America hating me before we go into the World Cup. But, I'll give you my word, I am coming." I think if that's the situation, they're just trying to limp through. Just giving us lip service to everything they wanted, and nothing's come true. They've not backed anything. They've had this big war chest. They announced it. They're going to pay higher wages. They're going to do this. They've done nothing because you don't pay higher wages to players you don't get in. So it's just all lip service, and I just think they were purely buying time till the summer. So trust is gone.
Would it make a big difference if Poch did come out now and say that he was coming to us after the World Cup?
It wouldn't to us, but I'm sure it would to America.
But why? Because if they know he's already not going to be extending his contract or whatever, what difference would it make? I mean, it's different. I think it's different if it's a league team, but when it's a national team, if you say yes, once the tournament's over, I am leaving, then I don't think.
I don't think he's got a contract past that. So the odds are he is leaving, but to come out to the players and say, "Look, it don't matter what we do, I'm gone." I don't know. I don't think we would like it if Tuchel come out and said, "Look, I'm only here because I'm going to Chelsea in the new year." I think the England fan in you would be up in arms about it. So
because we all know that national managers leave after a tournament. We know that. So to me, if his contract runs out at the end of the World Cup, then everybody kind of understands he's probably leaving. So I don't understand why it would be as big a problem. I mean, it's different if you've got, say for argument's sake, Thomas Frank was doing well with Tottenham and we was in the Champions League final and he said, "As soon as that's finished, I'm leaving to go to." Then it's a little bit different. But a national team, I don't.
Look at it from Pochettino's point of view. Are you really going to commit to a club not knowing if they're going to be in the Premier League or the Championship? Level he's at now. If we're in the Championship, he ain't coming. Also, you got to take into account, even if there was an agreement between club and Pochettino that he's coming back after the World Cup, the USA government body are never going to let that out because it doesn't send out a good message to the camp heading into the World Cup. At the end of the day, you need them players to go out there and die for your manager. You need them to run through brick walls for your manager. If he comes out and announces before the World Cup he's leaving, then players are going to slack off and stuff like that. It sends out the wrong message to the whole nation. They're the host nation. They're not just a nation at the World Cup. They're a host nation. They're never going to let anything out like that before a World Cup. Never.
Yeah. But everybody already knows he's leaving after the World Cup because his contract's up. So what difference does it really make?
One last question for you guys. Maybe go to Martin on this one and come back to Saurin because I think I might know Saurin's answer. With Frank becoming the latest casualty, what needs to change at this club, Martin, to ensure that this next manager doesn't suffer the same fate that so many managers have before them?
Right, so we're bypassing the interim pit and we're going to start afresh in the summer. Can we start there rather than this period? Yeah. It has to be a whole shake-up. Like, if the Lewis family are going to do what they want to do, because now the Levy situation's gone. Now they've sacked their manager that Levy brought in. All the excuses are running out for them now. The shield is getting smaller and smaller, and it's close, quickly coming towards them. The fire is going to be at their doorstep soon. So they need to employ the right people. They need to shut up, keep out of it, pay the money what they want to do because they want to move the club forward. Then you move the club forward by doing the right things, i.e., you pay the money to the right manager and you get the manager to work along with the DOF he wants, that everything aligns. So all the ducks are in a row and there can be some sort of harmony and we progress forward. And the remit is to stage season 1, we need to be knocking on the door of Europe. Season 2, we need to be, challenging. So there needs to be some sort of plan, like they're going on Dragon's Den and saying where you're going to be in year 1, where you're going to be in year 2. But just coming out with blanket statements like, oh, we'd love to win the Champions League and the Premier League. Yeah, but when? They're saying it, but when? So they need to have some sort of plan. And if they can't do it, which to me at the minute, they're proving they can't do it because they ain't got a clue. And they've been hired, by Vinay, the secret Arsenal agent. And then you've got Frank, the Arsenal lover. We're just being indoctored with all them. You've got to get the right people in to do the right jobs. It's no good. They've got rid of Daniel Levy and they've brought in 20 people that don't know what they're doing. You just need to clear it out and have a clear message. Here's the CEO. He's going to work with director of football. This is the direction we're taking the club. We get a manager or a coach that fits that system and we buy players for that system. And we're all aiming towards, in the next 3 years, we want to win a league. It might not be possible, but that is our aim and we're going to do our damnedest to do it. And I say, we're talking about Spurs here and a plan, but that has to be, I'm no businessman, but surely they must be sitting up there, all these billionaires that have got somewhere in meeting rooms and sit there, and the first question be, what's the plan? And they ain't got one, or if they are, so that's where they need to start.
Yeah.
The right people with the right jobs in the right direction.
It's the last question, Saurin. I mean, probably the right thing to do would be probably sack Johan Lange, sack Vinay.
Yep.
That would probably be the right thing to do.
It'd be a good start.
I think out of them two, I would, as much as I don't want to do it, I would maybe give Vinay a little bit longer because I think the fact he hasn't been, Langer has to go because he has shown he's not up to this job.
100%.
But the most important thing for this club to do is get the right manager in, like Martin's just said, get the right director of football in. Forget having 1 or 2 directors of football. It's got to be one, and it's got to be the right one. It's got to be a footballing man. And get the right manager, the right director of football, and actually back the manager this summer window. Whoever it is, you go out there and you buy him the players he wants in the position he's need, and let him actually run the club. I mean, for me, we need to go back to having a manager that actually manages rather than a coach. We need the manager to pick the players he wants, and then we go out and get them players. Not, director of football, here's a list of the players you can have. Please go down column 2 or column 3 rather than column 1 because it's going to cost us too much money. Yeah. Then this board has actually got to show us that when they said they want to compete on all 4 platforms and they want to take the club forward, show some balls, show us fans that you mean it. Otherwise, sling your hook. Get in a container, get on a ship and just go sink it in the middle of the bloody ocean along with the club as where it is now, because it's not good enough and we need to see a response. Yeah. And that's as much as we can do. Right manager, right tactics, right players, full stop. No more excuses.
Yeah. Just quickly before you let you go, I'll answer that just quickly. For me, I also think the fans have a massive part to play in this. Chant Vinay, Lange, Enoch's name, in the stadium. Make sure they hear you that you're discontent. Turn up to people that protest that are being organised, and keep putting relentless pressure on them until we actually see them start making the right decisions. Because if you don't, you're just allowing them off the hook. The board also need to get rid of Vinay They also need to get rid of Johan Lang. And they also need to start showing some fucking ambition when they're going to appoint a manager. That's what got us into this situation in the first place, was lack of ambition in the summer in terms of the managerial appointment. They should have fucking sacked Johan Lang off the previous January and summer transfer window. They didn't. So they need to start rectifying their mistakes and putting the right people in place. But the fans also have to keep going and keep going and keep going at the board until we start seeing continuously the right decisions being made.
Saurin, Martin, thank you for coming on, guys. Thanks for being our emergency responders in this situation. Please, everybody, do thank them in the chat, by the way, because they have taken time out of their evenings to once again try to solve the basket case that is Tottenham Hotspur. So please do thank them. And also, everybody, in case you are a fan show member, we're going to transition over to that now. We're going to have you guys come on and have your say. If you are a fan show member, look out for the link. But Saurin and Martin, we can now release you, and we'll probably have to call on you again very soon with all the craziness of Spurs.
No, brilliant. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Frank in. Oh, sorry, he's gone. Frank out. Goodbye.
That final time.
You dog.
Yeah. See you guys.
Thank you, Saurin. Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
And now, like I said, we're going to move on to the fan show. We already have people in the back end. If you are a fan show member, look out for it in the post section of the YouTube page. Would love to have you come on and have your say, everybody. Also, if you can for us, do smash the like button. We've had well over 300 people in the house. We're now close to about that right now. So we would appreciate if we could get to around 200 likes. If you want to have your opinion be answered by the people that we have on the show, welcome to put it in the chat, or you're welcome to do it as a super chat as well. We're going to go first to Jerome, who I think is a relieved man, Jerome. But let's go to him and see what he has to say.
Good evening, Jerome. How are we?
Good evening, gents. Yep. I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Are you relieved? Are you happy? Are you still worried about the rest of the season?
Relieved that he's gone. Worried? I'm still worried, to be honest. I'm just like, this should have been done months ago, guys. We all agree. It should have been sacked months ago.
Yeah.
And then we give the interim manager, whoever comes, we give him the winter transfer window and we give him a chance to compete. What we've done right now is just put us in a situation where we don't know who's going to come right now. We got 12 days to decide. And if we give the reign to Heitinger, we're going down. He's no better than Frank. He's not going to do a better job than him. He's not going to do us any favors. So that's not the way to go. So who's going to come to this mess right now? Because the injury crisis is still there. We still bare bones. And we're still in a worrying position right now. So my issue right now is who's going to come? Who's going to make us survive? Right now, it's about survival.
Who would you like to see? What would be your preference?
To be honest, I don't know. I really don't know at the moment. De Zerbi, if you get it, like we get it, De Zerbi, Maresca, whoever, if you can make us survive, that's all that matters to me right now. That's really all that matters to me right now.
It sounds like though sounds like you're not pro just anyone, you know, like you don't think anyone could come in and get us out of this. You do feel like there are wrong appointments.
Yeah, there's definitely like a wrong appointment. We cannot get this wrong. Not at the moment. Not right now. We cannot get this wrong. We have to get it together. We have to be in panic mode right now. We need to be saying we have to get this right, because if we don't, this club is collapsing.
Are you surprised?
It's going to collapse.
Are you surprised that they made the decision to sack Frank without actually having, you know, someone lined up ready to go?
Good question.
Well, the thing is, in my point, they had no plan of sacking Frank. They had no plan at all. the same way as we are telling us all the nonsense after the transfer window about like, oh, we are looking like we're not going to panic now. The players are coming back and we are having big plans for the summer. Nonsense like this because we have no plan at all. For the moment, is the Newcastle game was an eye opener when we saw the stadium empty.
Yeah,
it was empty. This is where we go. It's serious now. If this goes on, people are not coming, and we keep dropping points, when we're done. And said we have to make a decision now. Have to make a decision, and this is what happened. But the thing is, this is where I get angry. This is where I get really angry about this, man. Seriously, just think about it. Like, I hate the word Spursy, but there's nothing more Spursy than us right now. Just think about that. We bring an Arsenal reject. Vinay leaves Arsenal, and we are about to win the league. We bring a reject from Villa, and Villa is now a much more better team. We bring Thomas Frank, and Brentford are fighting for Europe. How bad can we be that we bring all three here and we're now facing relegation? I mean, like, seriously, man. It's like all the things that we could have done not right, we've done it. And we've done it to us. I mean, like, seriously, man, it's like, I don't understand. Serious, like, even for if Levy was there, this guy should have been gone, 12 times already. He would not have stand for this. Not have stand for this. Should have been after the Arsenal game, after the Chelsea game. You could have clearly see he had no clue as to what he was doing. No clue at all. But he kept on moving, and now January, 5 points away from West Ham, man. To be honest, of all my time supporting Spurs, I have never once worried about West Ham. It was a West Ham game, man. I had to go and watch a West Ham game and just pray that Man United can come back. This is embarrassing, man. Where have we come to now? Where? I mean, like, I should be happy right now that Frank is gone. I should be over the moon. But it's like, I feel like it's too little, too late.
Yeah. I'm with you, Jerome. Like, I was joking to Dave, like, I'm not even watching the top 4, top 6 games anymore. I'm watching the games at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's gotten, because I have to worry now. I have to worry about West Ham games, which I've never said before in my life. You're absolutely right. Why is it, though, Jerome, that, like Matt has said here, good to see Matty Hayes, he's saying, I just can't believe it went on this long. The fans saw it months ago that he needed to go. Why is it that it did take him this long?
I don't understand. It's probably, look, they probably felt the same thing, the injuries, crisis, everything that's been happening. It's like, we're giving him like all of us, like, like Europe is doing all right. They're thinking, maybe might do something. But come on, man. 2 wins out of 17. We should have seen this. Should have understand this. Should have seen the football. Come on, man. Should have got rid of him already and bring somebody else. Like, by the time we had Maresca, Alonso, whoever was already saying we are free now, just go and go. Let's try those guys. While we still had players to go around, let's have those guys. Get rid, and then when the transfer window is here, let's back them. Let's see what we can do. No, stick with Frank, stick with this nonsense, and then after that, the injuries start piling on. And now Odegaard is gone, ACL. It's like, we can't write this off, man. It's like, this is the worst of the worst luck we can have. Yeah. And now, seriously, like Dave said all the time, with an injury crisis and everything, who's going to come to this shit show? Who's going to come and take over this one? It's like, I don't want to be doom and gloom. I don't want to be the guy to be like, we should be saying, finally free from Frank, finally free from the shit football. But at the same time, it's like, where we are now, and how the team is bare bone, I don't know, man. I'm very worried. I'm very worried, and I can't even think about relegation because just imagine the financial ramification of us going down, man. Seriously, all the massive club like Tottenham going down with this state-of-the-art stadium, the debt we will have to pay, and all the things, all the revenue we lose from the Premier League and everything else, man, would be like the worst collapse ever. The road back to the Prem would be so hard for us, man. I mean, like, I can't even imagine it. Even though he's fun, but just to be honest, the road back would be so hard. And even though we get back to the Prem, we'll be such a weakened team by the time, man. I mean, like, I don't know, man. It would be so hard, so depressing. But I don't want to think about this. I don't want to. We need to survive. That's the only thing we need to do. We have to survive. That's the only thing that needs to. Yeah.
Last question, Jerome. Is he really the worst appointment you could say in this club's modern era, or is he the fall guy for a squad that's already been in decline? Was this always going to happen, or did Thomas Frank really just make an absolute mess of this situation?
He's the worst appointment. I can't. I'm not going to go and say, it's the team and everything like that. We know the team doesn't have enough depth. We said it many times. Yeah. But Thomas Frank is the worst appointment we have ever made. Worst. Because, to be honest, from the start, I said it. This kind of football is not sustainable. Not sustainable at all. The thing about hoof it long throws, hoping for corners and score from corners and no style of play, nothing going on. It is the same basic nonsense. People will just find you out easily and you will be done quickly. I told you guys again, when we people wake up, when we're like 15, 16 again, and then when it happens, and everybody goes, he's a shit manager, get out of here. Should have been done a long time ago. But he's a worse appointment. 28%.
No, it's 26 now. It's gone down.
26%.
Yeah. Went down after last night.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Worst top 6 manager ever.
Like worst first manager since 2006.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
It's insane, Jerome.
I mean, like, how low can we be? Seriously, this summer I was enjoying myself, man. I was happy. We won a trophy. We got everything that we wanted. I was over the moon. Tottenham just went, you guys are happy? Hold my beer. Hold on. And then everything just collapsed for us. From on top of the world, winning a trophy to now facing relegation.
Yeah.
Tottenham, ladies and gentlemen.
Tottenham freaking Hotspur. Jerome, thank you for getting us started, sir. Thanks for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Thanks for managing and trying to rationalize this shit show of a club sometimes, my man. And we're going to have to take this one game at a time to get out of here.
Yeah. And I'm sorry again. I didn't want to be doom and gloom, but
everyone's like, steal my thunder, Jerome. Once again, you've absolutely slayed it. So thank you, Jerome. As always, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Class.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Good to see you, my man.
See you, bye.
Good evening.
Yeah. You can relax a little bit now. See you, man.
Yeah.
Big up to Jerome, everybody. Do thank him for coming on. And good to see some people in here. By the way, everybody, the link is in the post section for all the people that do want to come on and have their say like Jerome has. We already have a healthy queue of people in the background. So now's a good time to reserve your spot. Paul Brown saying, Jack, can you get David Koch to settle him down? Whatever you're having yourself. Thank you, by the way, Paul. But to be honest, I can, like with Dave, he's like going back and forth between a smile on his face with the relief that Frank has gone, but also the worries that it's not like, we're in the clear or anything like that. We're in the same position that we were yesterday. It's just that now we have to worry about whether this board will bring in the right guy to get us out of it. So it's almost like Dave is just going back and forth between worried face and, happy face, really.
Do you know what it is? My internet took the sting out of my momentum today, and I was all built up for this stream, ready to go, a lot of good things to say. And then the internet took me out of like 40 minutes of the stream, which absolutely pissed me off. But, so that's why I'm a bit unsettled. And to be honest with you, Paul, me having a bit of a Coke during the stream in terms of Coca-Cola, you know, it's a bit dodgy. If you remember a few weeks ago when we had the Kildare Spurs lads on, you know, had a sup of coke and all of a sudden the sugar level spiked and it just sent me a bit crazy for a few minutes. So probably not a good idea, Paul. But no, look, to be honest with you, I'm glad Thomas Frank is gone. I made it no secret in the summer. I was one of the only ones out there that sort of warned that it was a massive mistake. And I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad, to be honest with you, I'm just pissed off it's gone on so long. If we would have made this change earlier, we could have you know, been a bit higher up the table and made a late push for Europe. But now we're sitting here trying to survive relegation. And I just fear that maybe we've left it a little bit too long. And to be honest with you, I don't think Dumb and Dumber, Tweedledum and Tweedle Twat upstairs in Johan Lang and Vinay, I don't believe that they're going to get the right person in either. I think they're very indecisive people. And in the situation right now, you need decisive people because the indecisiveness is what got us into this fucking mess.
Yeah,
but I appreciate the... I'm glad you noticed that I do need a bit of a sugar spike, though. Big up, Paul.
Very generous, Paul. Good to have you with us, by the way. I do appreciate your support for the channel. We're going to keep it moving. Good amount of people in the background that want to have their say. I believe we have Daniel next and then Eugene after that. Daniel, man, he's gone.
He is gone, finally. It has to happen. Too late, sadly.
Why did it take this long, Daniel? That's the first question. How did it take this long? What were they thinking? Why did they persist with it?
It's insane. The first time they persisted is when it's the worst manager in the history, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it should have...
Yeah. The one they've shown the most patience to is the worst one.
Yeah. And it should have happened in December, really. Probably. Or November. He gave the January transfer window to this, and then you decide to sack him after the window's over. It just, what is the thinking here? What is the mentally? What are you doing? I don't
understand.
Is,
if they would have brought in a new manager for January, Daniel, or ahead of the January window, he would have wanted players. There would have been a massive demand for them to spend maybe even more than what they were willing to in January at that point. And I think that's part of the reason why they allowed it to go on past January.
Well, of course, they need to go as well. Then that's
they don't want to work too hard. It sounds like that's the excuse.
Well,
Johan Lange, he was like, "Wait a minute, I have to buy players and bring in a new manager. That's too much work." Sorry,
useless. Oh, I'm so fucking.
Have you lost faith in the whole structure at Tottenham Hotspur? Do you just think, you know, if we get the right guy in, all of a sudden, you know, we'll sort of kick on again?
No, I think, I think the manager is still going to struggle whoever comes in next, in my opinion. I think, you know, it's just going to, not like this. I think it's going to be a little better, of course. But I think that Vinay guy is, I mean, he makes me want to get Levy back. That's how bad he is, you know. Yeah, but honestly, what is he doing? Honestly, what the fuck is he doing?
That's the thing with Levy is that at the end of the day, he would sack a manager and then usually did have like someone that he immediately appointed right afterwards. I mean, Daniel, are you already worried the fact that they're apparently going to be taking 5 days to be bringing in, you know, the next guy? Like, I feel like they should already pretty much know who they want to bring in, right?
Yeah, you have to know. And I think it's hard now to bring in a real manager. You have to bring an intern now. There's no point because I still don't know if we could still get relegated, of course. I think this is a huge possibility. And
so you don't think we could get a De Zerbi or a Choppy Alonso or anything right now? It's too far gone.
Yeah, I think I don't think they could help here anyway. You know, it's too much risk for them as well as the club to take the chance on them.
Yeah. Do you think he was the worst appointment we've ever made, or do you think it's the squad just being so terrible, like some people have made it out to be? Like maybe it was the squad that made him fail, or do you think it was Thomas Frank that failed?
Well, I think Frank was very bad, but I also think this squad, of course, is not very good. But again, I think you said it, Jack. It's not this bad, you know.
Yeah.
It's not this bad.
Where would you put it? Like some people go like 10th to 12th. Some people go a little bit higher than that. What would you say kind of the level of the squad?
I was going 10th, about 10th or above. You know, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. And then Daniel, what would you make of the fact that, you know, the players apparently were sharing photos of him, you know, in like Arsenal pajamas. They were sharing around the photos of him with the Arsenal cup. What does that say about Thomas Frank, or does that say something worse about the players and the staff that was happening?
I think that's more worse on the staff and players. I mean, if you don't, you have to respect, even though how bad it is. You have to respect the manager. That is your boss at the end of the day. Because if I go, I think Eugene said in the chat earlier that day after the Arsenal game, Frank said we need more authority here in this club. You need to show something more. And then apparently some players came out late the next day. If that's true, then
Romero was one of them. Apparently, it's being reported by Jack Pitbull.
Imagine if I do that at work tomorrow. If my boss was like, "If you don't fucking show some authority," and then I just, next morning, I'm just gonna be late. I don't give a fuck. Okay, he would go fuck yourself. You get the fuck out of this work right now. I know, I don't care. I mean, this is football and it's different, but I don't give a fuck. If I was seeing that, if I was their fucking manager and seeing that, I'm not gonna. You're going straight to the under-21 straight away. I don't.
You don't help yourself though as a manager by playing them, though, right? It's the report saying that.
Yeah.
Thomas Frank came up against behavioural problems and discipline problems, but if you keep playing them, you're not setting any sort of standard whatsoever. It's almost you may get onto them about, but you're still rewarding them. You're still playing them, and I think ultimately, you're not going to get that in check unless you just want to make an example of it.
Yeah, he's too weak. Frank was too nice and too weak for any like that.
But when you hear stuff like that, do you think the players will have enough to pull together and get us out of relegation? Because I mean, when you read things like that, it sort of concerns you a little.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's why I still think we're in deep trouble anyway. So I don't still think whoever we get interim or whatever, we're still gonna be in the mix.
Who would be your preferred option out of? You've got the names being banded around. Pochettino's there, but we're not going to get him out of there before the World Cup. So you've got De Zerbi, Robbie Keane, Sherwood, Redknapp, Mason is probably a potential. Johnny Heitinga, is already sort of in the club. Not a great list of names there, that's being floated around right now. But who would be your preferred choice out of them?
To be fair, I'm just going to say Heitinga. To be honest,
Heitinga.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that. Because the other ones I don't believe. Sherwood. Fuck me. What's going on? I'm fucking losing my mind. But that's what this club does. But yeah, because I just think, just do it to one that's going to be here for the rest of the season and bugger off.
And I like Rudolph's comment here, Daniel, saying, guys, it is always about the manager. Yes, he does need players of a minimum standard at least, but even if you have good players, a poor manager can ruin things. Yeah. And I think that's what kind of has happened here with Thomas Frank. I don't think he's had an amazing set of players. He's had, of course, a ton of injuries, but at the end of the day, a whole manager's job is to get the most of what he has. And Thomas Frank just simply wasn't. He was actually making things worse. Somehow he's found a way to do even worse than Ange Postecoglou did last season in terms of where we finished in the league. And I think that's where, you have to look at the manager, really.
Yeah, I think it was worse than Nuno, actually. That's how sad it was.
Well, at least Daniel Levy knew to sack Nuno before it was too late. Yeah. Do you think the players started downing tools, Daniel, or do you think it was just we were tactically all over the shop under Thomas Frank? Why was it maybe these last few matches that we just look so terrible? Is it just the players not believing in them? Last 20.
Yeah, no. It's a mix. I think it's a mix, but mostly the way we set up. That Newcastle first half last night. Oh my God. I didn't know what. I genuinely wanted to just watch the wall instead. That was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And we said that almost each game. Like, every game has been worse than the other. That's how sad it's been. So I definitely think it's more how we set up, because it feels like after we score that goal, Archie Gray, and then we have that momentum, but then we step back again. What the fuck? Then we just move back, just defend again. Okay, we got the point. Yes, just settle for it. That was almost what it felt like. And that's always how it's been. Almost just don't lose.
Guy came out protecting a 0-0 rather than go and win games of football. Like, that's acceptable at Brentford, but not at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, no.
At the end of the day, I do think managers get too much of a free pass. The initial feeling at Tottenham is we haven't given him all of his players. You're not going to give him 25 players when he walks in the door. He has to come in and merge whatever 4, 5, 6 signings you can give him in the summer with what he's already got. But the problem you've got with managers nowadays, a lot of them are already walking in, I play this way regardless. You know, a good manager looks at what he's got and finds the best, the best solution to get the best out of it moving forward. And I think that's where Thomas Frank failed. You know, he came in, tried to copy and paste what he'd done at Brentford, at Tottenham Hotspur. You know, a lot of people have blamed the quality of the players, but, you know, you go and look at Brentford under Thomas Frank. In first half of games, they had the fewest completed passes of any team. It was the same at Tottenham Hotspur in first half of games. You can't attribute that to the players when it's happened at two clubs, and the common denominator is the manager. At some point, it's got to be his responsibility and his fault for not getting enough out of what we have.
Yeah. I really agree with Matt's comment too, saying this squad is better than what he even had at Brentford, yet this season is worse than anything he had at Brentford. Don't think the quality of the players can ever be an argument in his favor.
Well,
I think that's a spot on comment.
Yeah, he couldn't make the jump up. As a manager, he couldn't do it.
Do you believe in that? Dave has said that in the past, that they're just managers that are good for mid-table clubs, lower mid-table clubs, and then they're players or managers that are meant for the top clubs.
Yeah, I think so. I think so now, especially this guy. I think because again, you know, I was his big support of this guy. You know, I wanted him, and you know, he's bugged me in the ass.
You look at all the best managers in the world throughout the game ever, history. They all have character. They all have something about them. You know, you look at Thomas Frank. I'm not being funny, but he's like a dry raisin. You know, a dried out raisin.
Nothing there.
Absolutely nothing to him. No character, no personality. You know, nothing at all. And everything was all about being nice. You know, we played well. We competed. You know, we're losing games left, right, and center. What the fuck are you talking about? And for me, you know, that's what you need at a club like Tottenham. You need someone with a bit of character, a bit of personality about them.
Yeah. Any final things you want to get off your chest, Daniel? Of course, we'll have another fan show next week in case you forget anything.
I just wanted to say something. Yeah, I just wanted to say when I first joined the channel as a fan show, we were fighting for top four against Arsenal with the content and that. And now, a few seasons later, here we are fighting relegation. And Arsenal going to win the league. How fucking beautiful. Hey? Fucking hell.
Well, the roller coasters.
When you burn through the likes of Jose and Conte as quick as we have, I mean, there's only so many top managers out there available. We should have showed more patience under them.
I will say the next manager I really want is Xabi Alonso. I think he could, because he took Leverkusen from, I think when he took over, they were like bottom or something, and it took them to league titles. And of course, Real Madrid didn't work out, but that's almost a poison challenge. I think, that's something. So I think
Xabi Alonso's heard the Tottenham job's available. He's gone into his underground doomsday bunker.
Yeah, I think so. I know, but that's just a dream. I don't think he ever will come. To be fair, I think he's coming to Liverpool probably. But that's now. I think Poch is going to join us in this. I think after the World Cup, I think Poch is going to come.
All right. Seems to be naturally heading in that way.
Yeah, I think that's that's written in the script, Hollywood script, whatever.
Now when I see the guys like Daniel who celebrate like 50 months as a member, I'm now going to remind myself of all the roller coasters that we've been through. It's not it's just like Jesus, like all the shit that we've done. Look at all the shit this guy's seen in the last 50 months. Thanks, Daniel, by the way. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. You can relax now. Frank is gone, but we got more stuff to worry about after that.
It's still a good, huge job.
Still a huge dogfight left. See you, Daniel. Have a good one, man.
See you, Daniel. Have a good evening, man. Bye-bye.
Big up to Daniel. That's actually hilarious. Now I think about like people like Ribsy who are on like 60 months as a member. It's like, think of all the shit Ribsy's seen in this period. DJ Samuel, thank you for becoming a member, by the way. Good to have you back, DJ. Hopefully everything's good with you, my man. We can relax now that he's gone, but we still have so much more left to deal with. And Adam, just by the way, man, I think, Dave, if you'll look for your email, but it could be the case that you're not a fan show member. Fan show members would be able to see the link in the post section. So it might be the case that you're just not one. But do maybe try to look for your email or something like that, like Dave was saying in the comments there. But appreciate you being in here with us, Adam. And let's go on to the next member. It is Mia. Or sorry, Eugene. Sorry. Mia, it is Eugene. Sorry about that, Eugene. Hey, man.
I changed my name. Maybe it's my fault.
That's all
Maybe you thought I was somebody else.
Well, Eugene, here we are. Are you relieved? Are you just still worried about the situation we're in? Where's your head at?
I don't feel as good as I thought I would. It's just I'm not even relieved, to be honest. It's funny. I was just thinking about it. You can tell a lot about a club or even a company when somebody gets sacked and all the reports afterwards, like all the dirt that comes out from different directions, right? All the PR, all the spin. So the first thing that made me laugh is that Lange was the one who recommended Frank sacking to the ownership, which made me laugh. I'm like, of all people in this club, he should be the first one to go. That just made me laugh. And the second one was after the Arsenal game when Frank talked to the team and said that the standards were too low. And then the next day, Romero and other players showed up late. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. But where there is smoke, there is fire. And you guys know about my stance on some players and leadership. So for me, I would be really excited if I thought that Frank was the only issue. And you guys know how I feel about Frank, right? Like day one, Dave, myself, Jerome, we didn't want Frank. But now that I think about it, for me, I don't think for any club winning is a God-given right. But what I want to do, win or lose, I want to be proud of the players I'm supporting, of the club I'm supporting, win or lose. If we lose, but I'm proud of the players and they're giving everything they got, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And right now, with Frank gone, you can put in any other coach or manager. I just don't feel the pride. I don't think I've ever been as disconnected from the group of players as I am right now.
Let me ask you on just something there quickly, Eugene. Look, it's obviously not a good sign that there's a lack of discipline in there. Your captains turn up late after losing to Arsenal and stuff. Do you think that's just because they saw Thomas Frank as weak and maybe, tried to push the buttons just to get him out of there, and that, if someone else comes in, they will buck up their ideas because maybe they respect them? Or do you think that was set to continue regardless of who comes in?
I think it's a bit of both. I think, and my biggest issue was with Frank, not even his tactics. What I look for in a manager of a big team is charisma, some balls to stand up to the players, right? And just ability to inspire. And Frank had neither. So when I lost all hope, when Van der Ven and Spence mugged him off and nothing was done, at that point, I'm like, you know what? I don't like sometimes as a manager, you have to lose the battle to win the war. If you would have benched Van der Ven and Spence and we would have lost next game, I would actually be happy. I'm like, okay, you know what? He's sending a message. You have
Same with Romero after he turned up late after Arsenal.
Yeah, you have to treat your best players like you treat your worst players. And after I saw that, I'm like, yeah, he's weak. So yes, he is weak and the players are taking advantage of it. On the other hand, the players, and that's where my pride kind of, talk comes in. The players need to be accountable. The players need to have some pride in what they're doing and earn their wages. And again, why I'm getting on at Romero is as a captain, as a leader, it's him, it's everybody else, Poro, Vicario, the leadership group. As a leader, you cannot act like this. Like whether the manager is good or bad, whether you don't rate the squad, you cannot talk about the board and not back it up on the pitch. And I think I mentioned last time, tell me any other world-class captain, especially a center back, who just, cost his team as many games as Romero has cost us, right? I don't remember it. John Terry, Van Dijk, Puyol, I just don't remember. So for me, I understand there are a lot of excuses for the players. Bad management, no transfers. But once you step in on that pitch, it's 11v11, right? Yeah. And you have to give your all. And for me, yes, Frank, not good enough. The board, shocking. Scouting is shocking. Medical team, that's a whole different conversation. But for me, the players need to earn their paychecks. And I just really feel like the club is the reflection of the manager and of the leadership. And what we're seeing right now is that both the manager is weak out of ideas and the leadership is lacking. The players just do what they want. We're in the relegation battle and our captain decides to be sent off for 4 games. Just again, it's, to me, that's unacceptable. So am I happy that Frank is gone? Yes. But honestly, who do we bring in? I have no idea, right? Like we talked about, personally, Glasner for me, but fans are going to complain about his playing style. It's just, honestly, I'm out of ideas as well.
You don't have any preferences out of maybe any of the names that's been bandied about?
I don't know, honestly. I know who I don't want. I know that.
Okay,
De Zerbi, I do not want. He is Conte without a CV and winning. He's a madman. It's going to be entertaining, when he blows up the whole club. But I do not want De Zerbi. I don't want Areola. He's another Frank, right? He's like these managers, these like sexy names who succeed in mid-table clubs, but they have no winning CV. They have nothing. With Glasner, yes, his playing style might not be great, but he proved he won with 2 different teams that never win anything. He won trophies. So for me, I want a manager with a winning CV, with the mentality, and again with somebody who players would respect. There are a lot of names for interim managers like Harry Redknapp, and like I cannot imagine an 80-year-old Harry Redknapp stepping in and players will not respect him. We need a name who players like, yep, either I've seen him play or yes, the guy has trophies. So we need somebody like that. Tactics aside, we need a presence. We need somebody who can lift up the club. Since Vinay, Lange, our ownership, are MIA, they do not represent the club well enough. So we need that manager to fill in the void, like Klopp did at Liverpool when he came in. Even Arteta, for all the hate, and I really dislike him, but at least he speaks for the club. We need somebody like that. And who that is, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're in such a bad situation right now, A permanent solution, is he really going to want to attach his name to this with the amount of injuries we've got? He'd probably rather wait till the summer. So, and then you look at interim basis, not a lot of great quality out there, in terms of that. You look at it and go, do you know what? They'll keep us up. But also, when you look at the 2 people making the decisions, Johan Lang and Vinay, no one has anything in them either. So, I think that's where, I think you said you came in feeling like, you thought you'd feel a bit more happier. And I think you're probably happy that Frank is gone at the end of the day, but I think you're worried that maybe just the right candidate, they've left it too late. The right candidate isn't there to move this club out of the situation we're in. And I think that probably explains, how you're feeling about it. I'm sort of similar. Like, I was sort of happy this morning when I woke up on the news because honestly, I couldn't take watching the style of football anymore. The tactics were absolutely atrocious. 0 game plan. But then I sort of realized, I'm like, yeah, he's gone. I'm delighted. But who? And do I trust the right people to bring them in? And that's what sort of brought me straight back down again.
Dave, it feels like a funeral to me more than anything else. It's like the guy is dead, but and then what? There's this void. So, and like I know everybody's talking about Poch. I don't want Poch back. I don't want to live in the past. I want somebody new, some fresh blood to be excited about. Like Michael Carrick at United, right? He's unknown. He's like no experience, but at least I'd be intrigued. Robbie Keane, again, no experience, but at least I'm like, hey, I want to see what he's all about. Like Vincent Kompany, once he went, right, he got relegated, but then he had some ideas, and now we see what he's doing at Bayern. For the I don't want the club to do fan service and get Poch just so that the fans are on board. Like I want a club to make some tough decisions and for once have a plan for the future. Give me an unknown manager who nobody knows. And I'll be like, you know what? Cool. I want to see what happens. Don't give me a retread. Don't give me an 80-year-old Radnab. Don't give me Poch. I don't want to live in the past. I want to move on. So if we bring in somebody that nobody has ever heard of, I'm okay with that as long as there's a plan, because we're not going to win anything anytime soon anyways, right? So we need to build. So if we find the right manager who we can build with, like young Poch back in the day, and if he's backed by our scouting, which again, different story, I can live with that. I just want to be excited to watch games again. It's been like a chore last 4 or 5 months. And if we bring in, Radnap or Sherwood or like Ryan Nason, or I might as well just mail it in for the rest of the season. I'll see you guys next season.
Take a sabbatical. Yeah,
in the championship.
Yeah.
Oh,
so is there anything else that you want to get off your chest?
Very well said, though.
No,
Eugene.
Thanks for having me again. It just feels a bit somber. I'm not as happy as I'm supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah, that was interesting that you said that. You were like, I expected to be, really happy about it, but not as much as you would have expected. That's an interesting thought. I might be in a similar boat, to be honest. I'm relieved that it's happened, but it's not like we get 3 points for sacking the manager. We're still in the same spot, and you're right that we could easily make the wrong decision with who we bring in next. So.
Just last thing before I leave, like this, what kind of upsets me the most is this shows how weak our leadership is, how weak the board is. We can say all we want about Daniel Levy, and we all know everybody wanted him out, but he was not afraid to make tough decisions, unpopular decisions, and sack managers. Vinay, just the fact is that this, Frank saga lasted for so long, and they were afraid to make a tough decision and admit that they were wrong. To me, that's the root of all our issues. We need somebody in the club who is not afraid to make tough decisions, and if it upsets the fans, so be it. Because the fans are fickle, right? Fans are going to be on board if the club succeeds. I want somebody who can be a leader, whether it's on the pitch as a captain, as a manager, and as a CEO. And right now, just nobody wants to make a tough decision and to take responsibility for what's happening. And to me, that's the most kind of depressing thing. And that's why I'm not happy right now, because Frank is one issue, huge problem, but not the problem.
Look, Vinay, you're absolutely spot on. Vinay needs to go as well. He just strikes me as a guy that's very sort of indecisive. When you're trying to compete for major honors, you have to be cutthroat. If things aren't working, you have to realize it very, very quickly, and you have to make the big calls. And this guy has been given that opportunity, and he's failed. And for me, I just don't believe in him going forward. To be honest, I had reservations when we first brought him in off the back of that interview with Levy. It felt like I was watching a Valentine's Day rather than fucking what this guy's going to do for the football club and everything else. So I agree with you there. He needs to go for sure. Oh,
yeah.
Jerome.
Thank you, Eugene. Thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure, my man.
Appreciate it as always.
Same to you. Have a good
rest of your day, man.
Good evening.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Where are we next?
We're going to keep things moving. I think we're on to Mia next. She's probably relieved, but I wonder if she feels similar to Eugene.
Was it not Eddie before me?
Oh, was it?
I think it was.
I'm getting it wrong. Sorry, Mia. I'll go to Eddie next. Sorry about that, Mia. I'm getting it all wrong today.
No worries.
We'll see you in 10 minutes.
Eddie's just left.
Oh, has he?
Or is this him, Romero fan club?
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Is that Eddie? Yes, it is. No, Eddie's back here.
Eddie, is this you? Oh, no, that was Eugene.
Eddie.
Yes, I'm here.
Sir. How are we?
Good afternoon. Oh, morning. I see where I am.
Morning. Good morning, lad. Good morrow.
You relieved, Eddie? I think you're someone who's probably happy about the sacking.
Look, I was on the Dave boat. I never wanted them to begin with. Look, I've been Frank out for a long time. I just had no faith. After the Bodo game, I had no faith in him whatsoever. Like, you don't respect Bodo. Yes, Bodo smacked up City and Atletico later this year, but at the time, he shouldn't have respected Bodo, in my opinion. I was very much disappointed in that game. I just haven't trusted him since, and he's proven me right yet again that this manager, the best he could have gotten us was mid-table. And had the injuries gone our way, we probably would have ended up mid-table and nothing more, nothing less. But with injuries, it's sped up the factor to us going to relegation, and it's scary seeing where we are. I don't think we'll get relegated, but it's very scary where we are at the moment.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're well and truly in the midst of it now. Anyone that thought we weren't, I mean, needs to wake up and smell the coffee. I asked someone earlier on, are you surprised that the club, haven't already got someone lined up that they're sacking them, and now we're sort of out there now speaking potential candidates?
No, look, it was definitely a knee-jerk reaction from what I've seen online. Then I was the one who suggested to the owners to sack him, and they went with it. So look, it was a knee-jerk reaction after that game. They saw that, like Jack said earlier, that West Ham was beating United, and we could be 3 points away from relegation, and they just panicked and they sacked him. 12 days between us and Arsenal, 7 days on the pitch, on the training ground, for the players to get back. So we'll see what happens. But it's going to be tough for any manager coming in for Arsenal in the first game.
What sort of manager do you think we need, Eddie, right now?
Oh, I wish you didn't ask me that. I really do not know, honestly. I think we need a manager to actually come in. I've been putting that in the chat just to spook people up. I don't actually really truly believe that. I just find it funny with how much people hate Ainge. But no, I wouldn't bring back. Yeah, basically, I wouldn't bring back Ainge. Look, I love the guy. He's capable of leading us through relegation, leading teams through relegation, but not with this sort of where we are with the injuries. He's proven last year that he's not capable of really handling injury crises. Look, it's not as bad with the back line, but it's bad with the midfield, the front line. So I just can't see Ainge working out if we do bring him back. Manager. A lot of people don't want Zerbi, who he is just Conte without the CV, like Eugene said. It will be interim, because I think they want to get to the summer and just survive and go for there, because there's a bigger pool of managers out there to choose through in the summer. Glasner, Luis Enrique is up, Mauricio Pochettino. There's plenty of contracts up in the summer for managers, and if we're going to be interim, it's going to be someone they believe could see us for relegation. They could go with what's his name, Harry Redknapp, if there really is desperate. Redknapp
He's too old though, Eddie. Out of the game far too long.
Look, he's the type. I wasn't alive when he was. Maybe I was alive. I don't know. I wasn't watching football when he was managing Spurs. I wasn't watching football when he was managing Spurs, and I just cannot judge him as a manager because I have not seen him as a manager personally. I think he's very capable from heard. He's the type of manager to big up his players, and at the moment that's what our players need. They need to have belief installed back into them. And I think Redknapp could do it. But honestly, I just want someone who I will feel comfortable with taking this team out of relegation. And at the moment, that's very far few in between the managers. But they need to make a decision quick. They have to be within the next couple of days.
And look, bringing in the right interim or manager, whatever you want to call it these days, that's only one half of the battle. You're seeing reports come out about players' lack of discipline under Frank. Do you think the squad will have the sort of get themselves together in time to sort of pull us out of this mess as well?
It depends. It all depends on who we bring in, because Frank just had no charisma. Just nothing to pull these players together and nothing to control these players. He said at the beginning of the season he had no dickhead policies, but apparently he couldn't stick to that at the end because we had players showing up late for training after North London derby. Frank just wasn't capable of managing these players. That's why he is a mid-table manager, and he's sort of stuck with Brentford. He was never going to be able to manage these big egos of players who are some of the best in their positions in the world,
like Mickey Benavent and Cudi Romero. We just need the manager capable of controlling those sort of egos, and whoever they need to bring in, they need to bring in someone capable of doing that. And like I said, it's just whoever comes in will decide that factor.
Mm. And Eddie, what did you make of the fact that it took them this long to even do it? Like, why is it that they took this long to make the decision?
Look, I think Vinay is a bit of a coward, honestly. So Lang, I think they're both cowards who don't know how to act decisively, and it's not. That's not what we need at Spurs. It's not what you need at top level football. In top level football, you need decisive action, and Lang and Vinay should have acted quicker. Should have acted months ago, and given a proper manager a good go at this, because Frank was obviously not up for cut for it, and they just stuck with him, especially Vinay, because he got lucky with Arteta. But the difference with us and Arteta is Arteta had backing behind Arsenal. The Arsenal owner actually spent money. Spurs didn't do that. Like beginning the season in summer, we spent a lot of money, yes, but then we just during the injury crisis just didn't spend any in the January window, especially when Frank needed it. And that was another factor that it's the reason why Frank has been sacked. It's because these owners and these cowards of football operations and CEO just didn't act. And had they acted, Frank might have still be here to many dismay, obviously. But I think they needed to go, definitely. But I just can't believe they took this long. It's just cowardly by them.
Well, I think the patience they showed them is disguised as patience. It wasn't. It was negligence. You know, that's exactly what it was. Absolute negligence for letting it go on this long. You know, every fan could see what way it was going, screaming about it. Yet they couldn't. They only waited until the stadium was half empty. And also, if you look at Frank's quotes after the games yesterday, you know, he was sort of getting on to where Conte was going nearly. You know, when they asked him about, you know, he said, "Oh, you can just blame one person, but it's not just one person." You know, and it's sort of like before that he sort of protected the board, and it felt like that's almost where he was aiming it. And I think that's the main reason why they pulled the trigger on him. Because I think if he didn't say that, and you know the stadium wasn't half empty last night, I think it'd still be in a job for a North London derby, personally.
Yeah, well, thankfully he did say it, because he would have lost us that derby and we would have been closer to relegation.
Eddie, any final things that you wanted to get off your chest around the Thomas Frank sacking, or what's left to add?
Look, I think fans now all need to realize, now that Frank is gone, we can now watch watchable football again. If they don't bring in another defensive manager, God forbid. Look, any manager for me at this point, any manager is better than Frank, except for Southgate. I'm not even gonna bother waking up. I'm gonna go to sleep and just enjoy my time asleep, because no Southgate, please.
Yeah, I was in a group chat with some other guys, and they were saying, "Oh, like Frank sacked," and I said, "Oh, I'd bring in pretty much anybody," and then they said Gareth Southgate, and I said anybody but him. So I'm kind of actually in the same boat, where I pretty much would take anybody but Gareth. But Eddie, good to have you on, man. Appreciate you as always. And
always
we
good
got
to be
more
online.
important fan shows. It's not over, Eddie. You know, there's still plenty more business to do. So hopefully, chat with you next time about who they bring in.
Yeah, chat with you next time, guys. Catch ya.
Have and learn to score more goals as well for the pro clubs, will you?
Yeah. Put on the finishing boots, Eddie. See you, man. Have a good one.
I'll do that tonight.
Yeah. Big up, Eddie.
Bye.
Look forward to it. See you later, my man. Love Eddie. The ego.
I think I'm going to get it right this time. I think it is Mia next. Apologies, everybody.
Yeah,
I've been getting it wrong the last few times.
Let's bring her in. Mia. Good evening, Mia.
Good evening, guys. How are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Relieved, happy, overjoyed, confused?
I'm actually really happy because I felt like if we continued with him, it was like banging your head against a brick wall and then wondering why you've got a massive big whack on your head. Like, what are we doing? We just kept doing the same thing over and over again, which is just that's what I say is like the sign of insanity. So we allowed him to lose games and be rubbish for all this time, fans complaining, and we just kept him. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, this has to stop. Like, it has to stop at some point. We can't just keep allowing it. And people saying, oh, but he can stay. No one else is going to be any different. Aren't they, though? Aren't they? Like, I don't believe that for 1 second, because I think if you're managing a team of people, right, and you've got to meet a goal and they are losing faith in your process of you getting to that goal, they're not going to work as hard. They're not going to do what you want them to do because they've lost faith in you and what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's what happened with Frank. I think that the players just looked at him and thought, mate, I'm not going to listen to a word you say because you just like making us play football that gets us booed all the time. We're not winning games of football. This is rubbish. Like, this is rubbish.
Do you think he lost the dressing room with his first statement, talking about we're going to lose games, and then talking about the Arsenal Invincibles? Think he would have lost the dressing room? Is that?
I think he wouldn't have lost the dressing room, but I think people would have been a bit kind of put off by him. I don't think instantly, because sometimes, right, you might say something and then you're like, is that what he's about, or is that just like an off-the-cuff comment? So you might just be a little bit more wary of him, thinking, okay, what is this bloke about? And then if he kept going on about Arsenal, they're going to be like, hold on a minute, mate, we're at Tottenham. Like, what are we doing talking about them down the road? Like, the team know what it means to the fans that we hate them and why we dislike them and that they're our rivals. So why the hell is that coming out of your mouth? Like, it's almost, again, I know I can compare it, but it is a bit like a relationship. If you get with someone new and then you keep talking about your ex, like, you don't do that, man. I know it's not his ex, but you don't talk about people that are like, that you've been with or that you like or that you admire. You're like, no, you're not going to keep chatting about some other girl that you think is really beautiful down at the school. You're not going to do that, are you? You're going to be like, your missus is going to be like, why are you doing that for?
Well,
why are we talking about that?
Speaking of people we admire, we like, and everything else like that, Mia, Pochettino, it seems like the route is going to be Interim and Pochettino after the World Cup. How do you feel on a Pochettino return potentially?
I think you probably already know my thoughts on it. I don't go back to exes. I don't think that it's a good idea. I think that with Pochettino, it was fantastic. He's probably my second joint with Joel. I liked Joel a lot. And my top would be Harry Redknapp is my favourite manager we've had. I think that I don't dislike Poch, but I think that it's that thing of everybody's assuming that it's going to be the same, and I just don't think that it is. I just don't see that it is going to be the same. But on the other hand, Dave, I sort of want it to happen so everybody can just stop talking about it, because it's driving me mad. Like, honestly, like you go with that girl one more time and she's, and then you remember why you broke up in the first place. Like, and for me, he got us close, but he never wanted to win cups. And Jose Mourinho even said that cup at Chelsea was important, and Pep won cups, but Poch never really wanted us to win cups. Like, he never took them as serious. And for me, I want to take cups seriously. Every cup we're in, I want to take it seriously, and I want to try and win it. I want more parades. Like, I just think that he thinks we're at this level when I don't think we're nowhere near at the level for Champions League, Premier League. So he has to come in and start from a point of his expectations should be not too high, and then thinking, right, we should try and win some cups. But is he going to do that? That's my problem.
I actually think, looking at this squad, I think it'd actually suit him. I think, where Pochettino made his name at Tottenham, if people remember, he got rid of the likes of Adebayor and old players like that, and he brought in Walker, who was loaned out a lot of times, Rose, Ericsson, Vertonghen, people like that. He also brought through the likes of Ryan Mason through from the academy and players like that. And I think this squad is primed for him. I think he'd get a lot more out of it in that regard. And if you remember back to Pochettino, In my lifetime, I think we have had the fittest team we've ever had underneath him. You know,
Yeah,
people spoke about intense regimes under Ange, fucking Conte, this, that, and the other. They were super fit under Conte or under Pochettino. You look at Harry Kane under Pochettino and after Pochettino left. Two complete different figures, two complete different mobilities and stuff like that. So
yeah, I do agree.
I do understand looking at the squad and, you know, why people would say maybe it's a good match, but I also understand the clamour back because we've gone down win now routes. It hasn't worked. You know, we've gone down sort of giving Frank the opportunity to build and build and build and build. I mean, it's not a Lego company we're fucking on in here, but, you know, it hasn't worked. So where do we go next, me, in your opinion then?
I think it's really tough because I think whoever comes in is in a tricky situation, even if it is Poch, because as I say, expectations of fans, expectations that are put on your shoulders. Obviously, Poch has already dealt with that. So I guess that he's somebody who has already been there, done that. But whoever does come in, they're going to have this expectation. And I think it has to be a manager that's got a big enough personality to handle that. Like, and somebody who has got an identity and will install that identity regardless. If they Conte did it, Jose did it, Poch did it, and even Ange did it. And I know we didn't win the playing that way, but he did want to play that way. And I think that we have to have a manager who knows where he's going with this team. He's got an idea. He's going to start implementing it quick and showing us. But the problem is who is that person? It's tricky. It is a really tricky one because like I say, they've got to have experience, in my opinion, of being there, done that, having that pressure, and someone who's pushed themselves to have that pressure. Because I think with Frank, he was always very comfortable at Brentford, and it was like that comfort, and he never really pushed himself. In all of his career, he's never really pushed himself to go bigger. Like when you think Poch, we got him after a year at Southampton, he was ready for that. He was like, no, I want to push myself. If anything, I actually admire somebody like that. And even with Ange was like, I'm going to go to Tottenham. It's a big club. And he said, I'm going to win you a trophy. And he pushes himself to give him that expectations of himself. Frank come in, like you said, and said, we're going to lose games. What kind of expectation are you setting as a manager, man? Like, what kind of expectation is that? Like, so it's got to be somebody with quite a strong, I think, personality. Not De Zerbi, though, because he is another Conte, and he's going to be it's going to be entertaining, I guess, but it's not going to be good for the club. Personally, my personal opinion.
I wouldn't be against the De Zerbi appointment. I like the fire and the passion that he brings. Don't get me wrong. I do understand that, you know, is it really going to last more than 2 years? Not quite so sure. Even if that, you know, he'll blow up at some point like Conte. But, you know,
he's kind of like Conte. He's like Conte. He's like a Conte personality, but he actually has attractive football, which is an interesting one for the club. Sorry, Dave.
No, he definitely has. He's definitely got like that passion. I don't get me wrong, I do like the passion, but I just don't see that going well. Like if he starts doing things that he might get the fans turn on him a bit too quick, because if he's doing a bit too much, you know, and I don't think we need that at the club right now, because I think it's somebody that's got to bring us sort of back together with the players, the manager and the fans have to kind of go back together again.
Well, I'm hoping with some of the patience that was shown to Thomas Frank, you know, the wrong guy, I'm hoping that could be bottled up and shown to, you know, someone like a De Zerbi or someone like that if we were to bring him in. But me, a last sort of question I have for you. Do you think the squad is as bad as some fans make it out to be?
No, I think that when you look at the type of football that we're playing and how we're playing, I just don't think it gets the best out of our players. People saying that we haven't got goals, I don't believe that's true. I believe we haven't got goals because we're not trying to get goals. Like you can't base it on a team that doesn't try to win games of football. So no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that they're as bad as this. And everybody said when Ange went, this team is better than 17th. We're not far off that. We're one place off of that. So that is not true. It's the style of football that they're playing. And I think, like I said earlier, that they just didn't buy in. They don't buy into it. So they're not giving their full self either, because they're like, this is awful. this is just horrible to play. And I just don't think that he made it very clear on what he actually wanted them to do, because I still have no clue to this day what style of football he was trying to implement. I really don't know. I haven't got a clue. So I think that has combined and made it to make these players look really terrible. Now, I'm not saying that they're top 4 players, not for 1 second. I predicted between 7th and 9th this season for us, because I think that was reasonable expectation. We haven't gone nowhere near to that, and I don't think these players are worse than 10th players. Like, I really don't. Not at all.
I think to your point, you look at what, for instance, when we hired Nuno, right, we didn't have goals on us, even though we had Kane and Son on the pitch. And that's because they were sitting so far deep, and they often have to travel 70, 80 yards with the ball just to get a shot off and goal. You bring in Conte, different ideas, fresh approach, same squad, took them all the way to 4th, finishing off the season in 4th that season. So, I liken it similar to that situation. You bring in someone with fresh ideas, I think you'll see different out of this squad personally.
I think not just So not just fresh ideas, Dave. I think that also somebody who actually wants to who wants to play football, but also has got that thing about them to instill that confidence in them too. Because we just said, hearing your manager talk about Arsenal all the time, hearing your manager bigging up all these other teams, this team was really good and this team's really good. How does that make them feel? They're thinking, hold on a second, mate, you're just bigging up everybody else. You don't have faith in us. And then he was so worried about the other team that he's basically saying, well, I don't actually trust you to play football. Yeah. We're going to worry about what they're doing. And that doesn't instill much confidence, does it? If you're worrying about the other team so much. So
if I'm in that changing room and I'm being brought into meetings and I'm being shown how great the Bodo left winger is, how great, Wolves centre midfielder is, or this or that, I'm walking out. I'm absolutely walking out. I'm honestly, I can't put up with this. I remember Reina at Real Madrid brought in Ronaldo. I want you to do defensive work. He put all what he wanted him to do onto this thing you plug in, what they call, I can't even remember now, USBs. And Ronaldo went home, watched it, loaded up all his goals onto the same USB, gave it back to Reina and said, this is why I'm in the team, And I think there would have been a lot of that with some of our attacking players, and that within the dressing room.
The thing is as well, you've got to understand, I know people say, these players get paid a lot of money, but they're still only human. So the way your processing works, your brain works, doesn't change because you're an elite athlete. So your motivation has to be, you have to have that motivation. You have to have that somebody telling you something, and you've got to be motivated by what they're saying and think, yeah, I want to buy into that. Yes, I want to do that, because they are only human. I think people forget that and think they're just robots, but the way their mind works and their processing works is exactly the same as you and I. They're just absolute elite footballers and we're not. So that's the difference. And I think that will make a big difference to them if they've got a manager, because I do truly believe, as much what people say about Ange, I think the players were very much on board. Look how many have come out when he left and said what they said about Ange, a lot. And even when they won, they brought out the poster of him saying, I always win in my second season. They did respect Ange, because they knew he was like a father figure that you don't mess with. And he had that right level with them to sort of be stern with them, but not too stern, where they're being like what I think Conte or Jose did, and shouting at them a half hour in front of everybody. He had a really good balance, and I think that's what's important. You've got to have that level of don't cross the line, but I'm here for you as well. And also to be able to motivate them, because he's a motivational speaker. Look what he said when we saw before the Europa League. Can you imagine Frank before the Europa League? Well, we might lose the game. I don't know. We get to defend because they're so good. Do you know what I'm saying? That's not going to exactly motivate anybody, is it?
But this is where I think everyone got lost around the Thomas Frank appointment in the first place. Everyone was so focused on tactics. And, half of the job, and if anyone listens to any managers, that are out there doing frequent podcasts now that, used to managing stuff, they say a massive part of the job is your man management, being able to manage egos, inspire the collective, outside of tactics and stuff. And I think that's one thing we sort of missed, when we hired Thomas Frank in the first place. But Mia, what's coming up on Tottenham Lone Wolf?
I'm going to be doing a video with Benji from Hotspur Hood tomorrow about Frank, about obviously all the stuff that's been going on. I actually just done one with Marlon from Spurs Kings TV.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I like Marlon. I get on really well with Marlon, with Ash. Like, I like going on their channel. I've got really like a chill vibe. He's like very chilled. So yeah, I did the video with him the other day as well. So I've been doing like a bit of collaboration work with people, getting different views, and also doing my normal videos that I do about the games and stuff. But I could just record the same one video and just replay it each time when we had Frank. So I'm glad to be doing something, hopefully talking about something a bit different. I'm hoping that I can say something different to what I've been saying, which is basically, we're not very good. We need to get rid of Frank. That's all that my videos have been for the last, I don't know how long. So
yeah. I don't know how many times I've said he needs to be sacked, in a video title.
Yeah.
Now it's finally happened.
Honestly,
Joe, I felt like I needed the recorder from Home Alone, when he tapes himself. I needed one of those just as I can just keep repeating myself, because I felt like I was just saying the same thing over and over again.
Honestly, I was getting that bored of it. I was saying to Jack last night, I think we should boycott the Arsenal game if he's still in charge. I can't do it any longer underneath this guy's rinse and repeat. But anyway, Mia, you have a good evening. You enjoy yourself, and we'll speak again very, very soon.
Yeah, I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks,
have a good evening, Mia. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Few people in here really agreeing with what Mia has to say and stuff like that. Make sure you do get over and check out our channel, Tottenham Lone Wolf. The link here is in the chat. Get over and show a lot of love and support. But look, we're very, very busy this evening, so we will keep this going. I believe Betto has enabled his mic. Let's bring him in. He's been dying to get on and have a word with us. Good evening. Good evening, my man.
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, man. Honestly, I'm
fresh
driving,
haircut, by the way.
I'm driving right now, brother.
It's a fresh haircut you've got going on there, my man. What's your name? What's your name?
Thank you, brother.
What's your name, lad?
I think it's Betto or Roberto. Yeah. It's like a nickname for Roberto.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Betto, man, I know you were a big fan of Frank's. How do you feel that he's gone?
I mean, I can't, I've been watching you guys' videos for a long time, right? And, I have 10 toes in the ground. I'm down in earth. I'm not in the galaxy of Frank. I'm not in his Milky Way. So I see like these obvious and apparent lack of attention from him. You could tell, like, it's like you want him to do well, but then like I see his comments that he says, and it's just like, how can you follow a guy like that? Like, how can you like, I don't know, how can you back a guy like that? And it really is embarrassing to say that about a coach, a manager of Tottenham, and I've never said that in the past. Like, I mean, Conte, Nuno, when he got appointed in Tottenham, I was happy for him. Why? Because I followed his career in Wolves before he got appointed from Benfica, because of Raúl Jiménez. When he got Raúl Jiménez, and he, that whole saga that he had with Raúl Jiménez, and I wanted him at Spurs. I wanted Raúl Jiménez at Spurs when we were looking for a striker, a replacement for Harry Kane. I thought he was going to be it, but God knows why it happens, and he got that crazy head injury, and one of the craziest injuries that anybody could ever receive. If it was to happen to an Arsenal player, I would also feel the same way. Like it's like at the end of the day, he's a human being, and nobody wants that to happen to no one. But like, bar that, I've always backed every manager that gets appointed, because it's like they're appointed for a reason, I believe. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna get appointed on a whim. Let's see what happens. It's like we're a club that can't have that luxury of, let's give this guy a chance and see what happens, and we'll give him a year or two, and then if it doesn't work, we'll get another manager, because we're not that appealing to nobody right now. We're not appealing to. I don't feel any coach even with the opportunity to come in for a couple interim, like an interim kind of hire, I don't think they want to even come, to be honest with you, man. I mean, because it's like they're looking what happened with Frank. They're looking at what happened with all of our previous managers, and they haven't been backed. Unless I genuinely believe, unless the manager's okay with just being here for 6 months, get a little paycheck and head out, that's the only way I feel like, you know, they'll be okay with going ahead and sitting in and waiting for Poch. I believe Pochettino will be our manager. He'll be our manager once again. You know, maybe because I'm a I'm a firm believer in Poch. When he got hired from Southampton, that was the craziest. I believe that was the craziest appointment and the most. It showed me their intent by getting a guy like Poch. You know, they're willing to give a guy like Pochettino, who you know is solely it's a man manager. He's a player manager. He understands the human being. You know. Also watching that high performance podcast when I watched when he was in there. I mean, it's like he mentioned when they were meant to sell. I mean, I guess they were going to loan out Harry Kane, and that
they were
whole
talking about
saga
selling and bringing him Welbeck.
Right. So, and when he said that they told them to go ahead and put out a note that we have the strikers we wanted and we're okay with what we got. And when they said that, I'm like, that's the shit that's going on currently. I mean, 100%. I'm pretty sure they're telling Frank, hey, if they push you at any given moment, just say our words. We'll back you, say these words, and that's how you get through these. Like, they're the PR team. They're the PR team of any of our current managers. I mean, you could tell that Frank doesn't. His words those aren't his words. Those are words you just throw out because those are like they probably told him just say this and you'll get them off your backs and don't worry about it too much. And because coming here, like I watch other podcasts, and then also it's like the interviews you get, the panels you'll get. Being the Tottenham manager, you're getting scrutinized for every little bit that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, shit you do off the pitch is being brought up, and you can't get away with anything. You can't hide. So I saw that pressure on him, heavy. Like, it's too much for him, to where I believe that, Vinay, Lange, like all these guys are talking to him and saying, you know what? Use our words. This is our notebook. Use it. Take it with you everywhere you go. And if you need any help at any moment you feel against the wall, pull this out, pull these 3, 4, 5 words out, and you'll get them off your back. And I feel like that's what's currently happening. I mean, those interviews are it's like, that's my manager? Like, he's legit. Like, it's like you want to back him, but then he's like shooting himself in the leg. Like, like, how do I back you, man? It's like, how? It's like, the whole Papa Matasar, resting him for no apparent reason. The only reason I believe that would happen is if Senegal had told him, hey, you can't play this guy. We need this guy for the AFCON. That's the only reason why I believe that. But if that's not happening, I don't understand why. Maybe he doesn't want to overcharge this guy, but it's like you're playing Poro every game. And then all that stuff, not knowing, like, I believe that he didn't get back, and that's the reason why I was like, that's what I was fighting for, that he didn't get back. Like, the players he wanted in the summer were phenomenal players. I mean, look at the names he had. He had Morgan Gibbs White. He had Morgan Rogers. Like, these are players that come in and hit the ground running, and those are the players that are.
But when you look at this attacking players we did bring in, right? Xavi Simons, he's not a bad player.
Phenomenal
player. He's not a bad player.
Yeah.
Kudos, he's not a bad player.
Exactly.
You look at Morgan Gibbs White and Eze. They made the right decision not coming here playing underneath Thomas Frank at the end of the day. He just doesn't get enough out of the forward players.
Yeah, you're spot on, man. I mean, it's like, okay, he did get backed. He did get back in that sense. And, I'll give him that much that he did. He did get back more than any other manager, in the sense of, like, the toys he wanted, he got, Mom,
I do
mom and dad gave
understand
it
where
to
you're coming from in terms of like, wanting to root for Thomas Frank. I certainly understand that. And I do understand where you're coming from in terms of,
give me
sometimes.
1 sec. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. I do understand as well sometimes where you're coming from in terms of, maybe the club saying, I'll put this statement out there, or put that statement out there and stuff. I sort of understand that, but like, I just think where I think it was the wrong appointment in the first place was all around the style of play and tactics. I just don't think it was ever going to work at Tottenham. Like you spoke about Pochettino there. When we brought him in from Southampton, the reason why he succeeded at Tottenham is because he already had built a certain style of play, that was easily transferable. It's not like he had to adjust his style of play like Thomas Frank needed to do. Same with Nuno. Nuno didn't work out at Tottenham because, his style of play. At a big club, you're expected to take the game to the opposition, dominate possession and stuff like that. And they failed to adjust, in terms of towards a big club. They almost walked in, well, this is what's got me here so far, and this is what I'm going to trust in when I walk into this big club. And I think, that's where we've got it wrong. Like you look at Eddie Howe, the reason why Eddie Howe has been able to take Newcastle to where they've gone, again, is because at Bournemouth, despite being one of the lower teams down the league, he played a certain brand of football. He gave I remember, them slapping up Liverpool 4-3 and stuff like that. He took games to the opposition. And, if you are going to take that gamble from bringing a manager down from that Stonewall at a lower league team, the style of football and the tactics is what you need to be looking at when you're bringing them in. Is it transferable to what we're trying to do here? And I think that's where the board made the biggest fuck up.
Right. 100%. Yeah, man. I mean, and not only that, but it's just, you're sending this guy to the wolves. You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing a guy from Brentford, right? Who doesn't get scrutinized, doesn't get questioned. It's happy days. It's after every game, win or loss, it's happy. He's having a good time. He's going for long walks. He's talking about that. He's talking about his, when he came in, I'm like, oh wow, we finally got a guy, who is worried about his, health. He's taking care of his mental health, going on these long walks, and now he's gonna be able to do it in our beautiful state of the art stadium.
What takeaway we getting, Roberto?
One second, brother. Yeah, can I switch?
Maybe we'll finish up here then. Harmless Potato saying, who is Eze? That was also one of Frank's most embarrassing things, right? Was he said like, oh, who's Eze? Like, trying to be cheeky about it. The guy really was, I think, a bit out of his depth, to be perfectly honest. I think
I'm over here. I'm doing like a little run in the errand right now.
That's okay, Betto. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully we get you on next time.
Yeah, I mean, if you got like a few seconds, I'm just right here in the drive-through of
we got a few other people in line, so I think we're at like 10 minutes anyways. So we'll get you on next time, my man. Thanks for coming on.
Man.
Finally, good to see you.
And honestly, I appreciate getting my point across, but $1.80.
I
mean, I understand that, like, it's just, I get it, man, and it's just crazy, all the situation. I'll get like 2 seconds in. I mean, look, this whole situation, it's inedible. I mean, we're gonna get the next guy. Hopefully, the next guy that gets brought in. I don't know who he is. I don't know who's gonna be. Thank you so much. You too. I don't know who he's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna be De Serbi. I don't know who it is. But all I wanted to get my point across is this. I'm a Spurs fan. I don't want these guys to do bad. I don't want any of the managers that get brought in to have a shit show. I would love for it to be where, back to the White Hart Lane days when, all the fans were in unison, singing a song, singing chants, making chants up, you know what I mean? And it's like, I look around in every different channel, right? Any Spurs channel. And all they do is say, fuck, look how shit this is. Look how shit that is. Look how horrible this is. Look how horrible that is. And I'm just like, I guess I have this illusion that, if we all come together, shit will get done. I mean, the players want to play. I mean, you got a quality player in Kolo Muani. I mean, when he came in, I'm like, that guy is going to make shit happen. But he hasn't done shit. I mean, and I feel like he doesn't feel like this is a big club because it's like he wants to go back to Juventus, where, those teams are known for their crazy hostile, fans that after every match, you know, you gotta go talk to them, and you know, you gotta stand court with them, you know, and here, well, just give us a win, we're okay.
Yeah. No, I fully understand where you're coming from in terms of, you know, the collective rooting together. And to be honest with you, I'm hoping that now that we make this change, you know, because I think if we continued on under Frank, it would have continued to be toxic inside the stadium, you know, online and stuff like that. I'm hoping that making this change will give everybody that stomach to come together and fight for this sort of relegation battle. And that's the hope anyway at the end of the day. But Roberto,
all right, thank you, Bert.
we'll let you go,
man.
man. You go and enjoy your Big Mac, and I'll speak to you again soon.
In and out, brother. In and out. You ever heard of
Nice. Jealous. I'm
that?
jealous.
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right.
You
Have a good one, man. See ya.
What sort of food is he getting at In and Out, Jack?
In and Out's like that famous burger place, like in California, and it's mostly a West Coast place. It's quite good, actually. It is quite good.
Makes me hungry.
He's definitely a good burger spot. But we're gonna keep things moving. Good to have Betto finally making his. I think he's been on before in the past, but it's been a while since we've been able to speak to him, so it's good to have him back. And now we're going on to the comedian. Chris had to change his name from Enoch out, then I out, but Frank is finally out. Let's bring him on. Chris.
Chris.
Do you know, I can't even bother with the jokes this evening. In a way, I'm glad Frank's gone, but there's three more culprits that need to go. Enoch, Vinny, and Lang. Them three need to go as well, because they've actually destroyed the soul of the club, to be fair. But let's forget about them and let's talk about Frank. Let's talk about the brick wall.
Just quickly on them, Chris. Why did it take them so long, man, to get him gone?
Who knows? As I said, as far as I'm concerned, them three can go, Jack. I've got nothing more to say about them. To be honest with you, I just can't be bothered to talk about them.
What do you want to get on to then about Thomas Frank? What do you want to say about him?
What, the brick wall? You mean the guy had more personality than a brick wall?
I thought you were going to come on and thank him for his service and his time.
David, excuse my language, but I can thank him for fucking off.
Is he the worst Spurs manager, Chris? Is he the worst Spurs manager you've ever had?
Very close to. The only other one I can think of was Christian Gross with his travel card years and years and years ago, and that says something. But Dave, Jack, to be honest with you, I'm relieved he's gone. But as I said, with the other three still there, it's still pretty difficult to envision anything successful.
Are you kind of like what Eugene was saying, where Eugene was saying, I expected to be happier that he was gone?
Don't get me wrong. I am relieved he's gone. And for Jack, for months on end now, I've been wanting him gone. After the West Ham, I wanted him gone. After the games before Arsenal, I wanted him gone. The Chelsea game, I wanted him gone. But now he's gone. Let's see what happens. Let's see if those players' attitudes change. Because it seems to me like the players just gave up on him. The players just said, "Nah, we can't work with this."
Yeah.
And if you've got a manager with a personality of a brick wall, what do you expect?
Yeah. So you put most of what's happened on the pitch this season down to Thomas Frank rather than the squad, because that seems to be the debate where people have attributed the blame.
Dave, it seems like a lot of confusion with the players of what he actually wanted them to do.
Yeah.
Because Glenn Hoddle said something yesterday during the commentary, and he said something really interesting about it seems like the players have got the shackles on, and it's like Frank's too scared to let them off the leash. Now, any other manager would probably say, right, we've got these players who've got a bit of pace. Let's get at these players. Let's not sit back.
Yeah.
Frank's the type of guy to have his dog on a leash, but don't even let him outside the house. He walks him inside the house. That's how
walks him on the leash around his front garden.
Walks him on the leash around the front garden.
That's exactly how it seems. All jokes aside, that's how it seems. Like he was too afraid to let those players go.
Well, it was evident though, Chris, on the pitch. The players aren't deciding themselves to not go and press. That's a tactic. That's a tactic that when a manager walks in, you either don't press or you press and you work on it in the training ground. The players aren't dictating that or deciding what they do there. It's clear he had the shackles on them, especially in the first half of games.
There was Kevin Dancer a few weeks ago before he got injured. He was giving some instructions Frank was giving some instructions to Dancer, and Dancer looked at him like, huh? What are you talking about? Is that what you really want me to do? Like, he was confused. I was thinking to myself, it's for me. I'm glad Frank's gone, but let's see now what happens for the rest of the season. Because me at the moment, I'm not excited. I'm not. I'm just like
seeing Palace 2 up inside 36 minutes at beating Burnley it makes me even more convinced we made the right decision to get him.
Dave, that's exactly it. We struggled against Burnley. We haven't won since December. December the 28th was the last time we won a game, and that was at Palace away.
Yeah.
So the whole of January we've won nothing. Into February we've won nothing. And when you've got a manager like Frank, who's got, as I said, personality of a brick wall, what do you expect us to do?
Yeah. What do you make of the fact that the players even made fun of him, Chris? Like, they were passing around those photos of him, with the Arsenal Cup, some of the memes that we've seen of him, like, in Arsenal pajamas, things like that. Like, what do you make of that? Is that bad on the players, or is that just show that Frank just
the players just lost the players had no respect for Frank, and you can see it turning up late for training. Not any other manager would have probably just docked them 2 weeks' wages, put him on the bench, or even left him in the reserves for a couple of games to teach him a lesson.
Yeah. But I said it about Basuma. Bringing Basuma back into the fold after initially making a stand makes you look weak. People are going to walk all over you.
Dave, to be honest with you, I think with Basuma, I don't think he had much of a choice, really, because of the injuries in the midfield. The injuries in the midfield.
You do. You be brave and you pull out one of them kids that are being paid to play in the under-21s and you give them their opportunity. I think it's an excuse to say, you have to return to a senior international. I'm not being funny. You turn to Basuma. What did the guy do? Pass 4 balls sideways, inhale balloons, give away 4 goals and fuck off again. You know what I mean?
Why did he play him last night, Chris? Why did he play Basuma last night?
Jack, can you please forget about last night? I don't even want to think about last night. I don't want to even think about last night, please. But luckily, I've been off work. I've been off work for 11 days, so.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, Chris, like with the whole Basuma thing, right? That's just one example. No wonder why the likes of other players in the squad are walking all over him, turning up late, this, that, and because they know they're going to play it regardless. At some point you've got to make a stand, and I get it's not ideal to go into the academy. But Pochettino done it at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, I know.
But do what he wants to do. He turned to the academy and look at the benefits. Sir Alex Ferguson at Man United. What led to his success? He turned to the academy when senior pros weren't pulling their weight.
Dave, you've got to look at it like this. Those players are watching his bloody press conferences, right? We're going to lose games. This is going to happen. Do you think that instills confidence in those players already? No, it's going to knock their confidence for shit.
So, well, like Dave said, Chris, they had a Europa League medal around their neck, and then the next manager that comes in to replace Ange is saying, "I guarantee you, we're going to lose games."
Yeah, exactly. You had Ange saying, "We're not lose. We're going to go at teams." Then you got Frank the brick wall just saying, "We're going to lose games." Well, what sort of confidence is that giving the players?
Yeah,
to me, Dave. To me. I am glad Frank's gone, but that fraud Lang needs to go, and that fraud Vinny needs to go as well. All frauds, a lot of them.
Agreed.
But David, I was reading something today. I don't know how true it is. Apparently, they're looking at Lang's long-term future by the end of the season. So, okay, say they do sack Lang at the end of the season, right? What does that do for our transfer window then? If we have no director of football, it's going to screw us again. This club has no clue, no identity, nothing at all.
I get what you're saying. It's not ideal waiting to the end of the season to sack Johan Lang, but I think he's got to go regardless. He's got to go.
Dave, it makes me think: was Frank's sacking planned weeks ago? This is why they signed no players in the transfer window, because they knew he wasn't going to be here much longer. Was that planned?
Well, if it was planned, Christian, I think they would already have someone lined up and announce them either tonight or tomorrow.
From what I've seen, they're waiting till because we've got 11 days off now till our next game, which is Arsenal. They're going to wait for 5 days before they bring somebody in. But that's a load of BS. They should have already had somebody in, getting those players off their days off, getting them on the training ground, working their socks off. That's what should be happening. But as again, soft Hotspur. Because we're becoming a soft team. We've become soft. We get bullied at home. We get bullied at home on our own pitch. Get bullied away from home, and now we're in a relegation battle.
To be honest with you, what I'd rather have they done rather than just give them 5 days off individually to go and do what they want and recoup. I understand it, try and take a mental break away from what's going on and come back re-energized. But if I was the club, I'd send them off to somewhere like fucking Croatia or something. Couple of grand
on a training camp.
No, I wouldn't. In the disguise of a training camp. Couple of grand behind the bar. Fucking, close the doors of the pub, just the squad. Let them drink and fucking get off what they need to get off their chest and stuff like that. I remember Sam Allardyce was speaking before, and he done that with, I think, West Ham. He took them out to Dubai. Everyone thought they were out there training. They weren't. They went out there, ended up having a big, massive piss up, come home, and all of a sudden they started winning games left, right, and centre and avoided relegation. I honestly think something like that is needed right now. Mid-season break, send them all together, one big piss up, and let them fucking enjoy each other's company and come back re-energized fighting. Robbie Keane spoke about it before at Tottenham Hotspur. With Harry Redknapp wanted to cancel the Christmas break or the Christmas party because things weren't going right. Tottenham players still came over to Ireland, had their Christmas party, went back, re-energized, refocused, kicked on.
See, but the thing is, the way it looks now, it's like the team itself has an identity crisis, especially with how Frank's put the club as to put the team. It's like they don't know whether they're an attacking team, they don't know whether they're a defensive team, they don't know if they're playing from the back, they don't know whether they're playing from the front, they don't know if they're high pressing, low pressing. They just got no identity whatsoever, and that is one of the major issues in that team right now. So they need a manager to instill that identity to make sure the balance is right. And I think maybe Poch, if he does come back, he will instill that, because that's what he did last time. He gave us an identity of what we were.
Yeah.
But as I said, for me, you had Frank, who's got the IQ of a chocolate teapot, mate. It melted in minutes. Yeah, they're like a brick wall, just like you're standing there talking to that brick wall and you're not getting an answer. You wonder why.
It's a caramel teapot. He's a caramel teapot.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
He already was melted.
Yeah. See, there's two types of manager. There's a top manager and there's a mid-level manager. Yeah, and we said it from the start when Frank was hired. He was a mid-level manager then, and he always will be a mid-level manager. Mm-hmm. Always will be. No matter where he goes, he'll be a mid-level manager.
Yeah, I think he's the next Graham Potter, Chris. He's just shown. He just can't make that step up.
He can't. There's certain managers can make that step up, certain managers can't. And for Frank, he definitely wasn't one of those managers who could step in. He stepped down and he said he just stood on the touchline like a gnome, like a nobody. Hands in his pockets like, I don't know what to do. Honestly, with his tactic board, like clueless.
I think Frank made the biggest mistake of his life leaving Brentford. I think, his managerial career is going to peter out from here on out. Yeah. I even think if other relegation teams or lower teams look to bring him in, he's not going to have the same setup that he had at Brentford that helped them thrive. And I think, the level of his managerial ability will be absolutely.
Dave, he's going to go back to Dave. His level's Championship. His level's back in the Championship. Maybe he can build a team from scratch in the Championship. But Premier League wise, I don't think he's got a chance, to be fair, unless Nottingham Forest sack Sean Dyche and bring Frank in there. But I highly doubt that will happen.
Yeah.
No, I don't think Fatty Marinakis is that stupid.
Sugar Marinakis.
Sugar Marinakis.
Fuck Marinakis, they're him. But seriously, big up, lads. And all I'll say is, smash a like and support Dave and Jack there.
Thanks for being patient, by the way, man. Thanks for
no problem.
Wait a bit.
So. Yeah, that's all right. No problem. I'm off work for 11 days.
Smile on your face. Frank is gone. We're freed. We're free.
Well, Dave, he's probably the medication I'm on for my knee at the moment, mate. So struggling a little bit.
Yeah. No, I hope you can recover, Chris. And also, sorry that I brought up the game last night because I know you're in the local area.
Jack,
don't go near Spurs' medical
yellow
room
card for me, Chris.
to heal your knee either.
Dave, I swear the hospital I went to must have had one of the Spurs medical staff in there because he didn't realise that I have actually got a medial ligament injury.
I was saying that last one of the times you're on, Chris. Even the Spurs fans are getting injured at this point.
Yeah, well, Jack, that's what happens when you get a sprained medial ligament and a fractured kneecap. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like new Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Pick up, Chris.
Yeah. Just I'm on the Spurs injured list right now. Might be back in about 6 months. Take it easy, lads.
Have a good night, Chris.
We
Appreciate your patience.
Be calling on you to take the field in a couple of weeks, lad. You don't know. Need to get you to get in shape. Big up, Chris.
What a legend.
Really enjoy Chris.
Always look forward to his call-ins. Big up to Chris. And also thanks for everybody that's still with us, still listening. Do smash the like button if you haven't already. And we have about 2 guests left by the looks of things. So do show them some love and some support as well. I believe next is Ryan, and then we're going to finish things off with Adam by the looks of things.
Let's bring him on. Good evening, Ryan.
Ryan. I feel sorry, man. I know he was your man. You backed him. He's now
Do
gone.
you know what? It's not even that. Enoch, right? Dave knows what I'm probably about to say. Enoch had absolutely mentally killed me, and it's that bad that I am actually, after this week, I am not having anything to do with Spurs until the summer.
Yeah,
you're gonna take a break from Spurs. You don't even want to see if we survive relegation.
To be honest, I don't care.
Are you on a free pass between now and the end of the season?
He's giving himself a free pass.
I need to get my head mentally straight. So I'm obviously just wrapping up a few little bit loose ends that I need to here, and then I'm gonna be away because this is not doing this club is not Enoch are not doing my mental health any good.
Well, look, before we get on to Enoch, how do you feel about Thomas Frank being sacked? I know you were a big believer in his free pass at the end of the season and stuff like that. You got to see him go?
Do you know what? If you remember, Dave, I was in the end in the camp of I don't care what happens to Frank.
Well, you switched to that camp, but in general, you did like Frank. Are you sad to see him go?
Yeah, I did, but it's just it is what it is. There's bigger things in life, Dave, than football sometimes. And to be honest, Frank can either be here or he can be gone. But like I said, whoever comes in next, all I'm gonna say, I'll say this now, just in case we do get our permanent manager in before I'm back, is good luck to you. Literally, because that's all I'm gonna say on the next manager appointment.
Where do you think? Look, I know the ownership, have a lack of ambition and need to take a lot of accountability. Where's your gripe at the ownership where it went wrong under Thomas Frank? Because you sort of relaxed off the ownership a little bit while Thomas Frank was in charge, but now you're all back on it again. So where do you believe they failed, Thomas Frank?
It's like the list I listed off last week, Dave. All those things, probably another 20 million thousand things that I could probably
give me
say.
One or two. Give me one or two. I don't want to hear about a list. Give me one or two.
Well, it's the signings for starters. No quality signings. Kids again.
You think Kudus, Xavi Simons?
Look,
Moani,
I'm talking about players for now. I'm talking about players for now.
Yeah, players.
You don't think Kudus is for now? You don't think Xavi Simons for now? Joao Palhinha?
Kudus is. Palhinha is only on loan. Palhinha is only on loan. Let's not. Please,
he's still a signing. He's still a signing.
But he's still here. He's still available.
Oh yeah, for how much longer? What before he pulls up and does his ACL in?
Hey, that's Frank's fault, man. That's the manager's fault. He's getting injured.
Do you know what? I really couldn't care whose fault it is. All I know is that it's definitely Enoch's fault.
I think you could make the case, Ryan, that did we do enough in January for him, or did we bring in enough in the summer? I think you can make that case, but I don't think you can sort of go after the quality of signings. I think that the signings we made were all for the here and now. Every single one of them. Just because he didn't get the most out of them, it doesn't mean they're crap.
Well, I don't see how that works out, Dave, because we needed a strike. We needed a left winger after Sonny left. Didn't replace.
Yeah.
Needed a new striker. Didn't replace. So if you think that was a good window, then please don't.
No,
I'd
don't
love to know
twist my
what a bad
words. No,
window
no, no,
is.
no, no, no. You're
No,
twisting my words. Very clever.
I'm just saying, if you think that's a good window, then please tell me what a bad window is, because
I never said it was a good window. I sort of said I think I would agree with you if you said we didn't maybe do enough in the summer or enough in January. I'd agree. But Moani, he's played striker everywhere else and he scored goals. Why hasn't he done it at Tottenham under Thomas Frank?
Because he didn't really want to be it. That's why he wanted to be at Juventus from the first day. Just that's the reason why.
Okay, Xavi Simons performed at nearly every club he's been at. You know, double in terms of double figures for goals and assists at nearly every club he's been at. Why hasn't he done it under Thomas Frank?
Well, there's a reason for that. He's needed a settling in period, and you'll see the best out of him next season. Like I've said, I keep saying the same things every week, Dave. And the thing is, right, and it's not even that, mate. It's because he's needed that settling in period. We won't see the best of him until next season. Yeah, he's getting bigger in his legs, and I don't mean his weight is getting bigger. God, otherwise that'd be.
Hope not.
That would be a bit. I'd be a bit concerned by that. Do you know what I mean? But
Probably
no,
could
do you
do
know
it,
what I mean?
don't
Like, he's literally like everything about him. He's putting the working in the gym, but we're not going to see the best of him until next year.
Mm.
And that's even if we don't get relegated.
Ryan, what did you make of the fact that players and staff were passing around, photos of, him in Arsenal pajamas and him having the Arsenal cup, basically making fun of him? What did you make of that? Is that bad on Frank, or is that bad on the players and the staff for doing that?
Do you know what? It's got to the point where it's a clown show, so I don't expect anything less. Because this is what this club is. It's a clown show. And until we get rid of the people up above, right? Until we get the people up above out, right? And that means Venai, Lange, Vivian, Charlie, Charrington, and whoever else is in that ball jar, right? Tom, Dick, and Harry, if you really want to put them names in there as well, right? Until we get rid of them, nothing is going to change at this club. Nothing is going to change. And I swear, if they get us sent down this year, I am going to lose my shit in the summer. I'm sorry, that's what's going to happen, Dave.
No, look, fair.
Wow.
I think many people are gonna lose their minds if it gets sent down. It's not something we've experienced or really know how to handle. But to say Thomas Frank has no blame is absolutely insane.
I'm not saying there isn't no blame on every single side.
Mm.
I'm not trying to defend this. I'm at the point, yeah, right. This is also another reason why, yeah, right, because I'm at this point where if I don't take a break now, Dave, right, from everything to clear my head and get my mental health back on the straight and narrow because of Enoch, I'm gonna say something one week I'm gonna regret, and I will not be able to come back from. Let's put it like that. And that's because of Enoch, and that's Enoch who have put me in a position. Like, and I get it, Dave, right? They
don't have their hands up your ass and using you as a puppet. If you say something, that's on you.
Yeah, but you know what emotions are like, Dave. Come on.
yeah. I get it. Do you know what I would say to you, right?
That's what I mean by that sort of thing. Like, they're not. Do you know what? Right? If Enoch
You need a Spurs detox. Yeah.
I need to. I'm actually not bothered about what we do for the rest of the season. I'm actually looking forward to the World Cup more than anything now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. At least you have a shot of winning it.
Well, Dave, you might even get there, mate. You might even get there. Yeah, you can't say you won't, because you can. You're still in the hunt for it. But look,
yeah, but we've got a guy worse than Thomas Frank in charge with worse tactics. But let's see if we can keep riding our luck. We'll wait and see.
No, of course, but like obviously, it's just got to the point where I think Enoch are damaging people's health, and not just the players' health, everybody's health. I've said this. I had a long conversation with Dermo the other day, and he said I should just stop now. I shouldn't. He said I shouldn't even have come on tonight because I might say something that I regret, but I need to do what I need to do to wind down until the summer. Do you know what I mean? And I can't wind down anything, right? If I've got Tottenham things that I need to say before winding down. Does that make sense? So obviously that's why I've done this.
What I would say to you right now, what I would say to you,
you know what? It's even funny, Dave. It's even funny. I didn't even watch the game yesterday.
Why? You didn't watch his final game, his last game in charge, the farewell game.
I didn't. No, and do you know why? Because I refuse. I refuse to. If I'm when I'm gone for a few months, right? I'm not going to be watching no games. I'm not having anything to do with Tottenham in my life.
I hear what you're saying, Ryan, right? I hear what you're saying.
I've got to take myself out of it, but the only way I can do that is by doing what I need to do and tie up the last little loose ends and then go off into the distance. But don't worry, Dave, I will keep in contact with you, mate.
No. I get what you're saying. I think obviously you got to do what's best for you, and you know what's best for you. But what I would say is, by sort of walking away between now and the end of the season from like turning your back on the club and not watching games at all, you're sort of letting Enid Quinn to a large degree. You know, I think, you know, I get, you know, there's problems with the ownership, lack of ambition, and you know, lack of backing managers properly and stuff like that. And I fully understand that, but at the end of the day, don't let them take your love away from the club. They're only they're not going to own this club forever. They're only a temporary custodian, same as managers, same as players. Don't let them ruin your love for the football club, the area, the badge, everything else it represents.
Yeah, do you know what though, Dave? It's kind of annoying because I don't feel like they're doing that. I feel like they've already done the damage to me, if that makes sense. And like, I was brought up around that area, right? So I was literally just born 5 minutes away from the stadium. So but I never thought any owner would ever do this to me, Dave. I really didn't. I really didn't think any owner of a football club could ever do this to me, and especially not a club that I love.
Yeah.
And no offense, Dave, I'm not taking this lightheartedly. I'm making it that decision on the basis that it's affecting my everyday life, and it's affecting people around me, and it's affecting my cats. It's affecting because they can pick up on everything. Like, it was that bad, Dave. Right, the other day I got so angry, I actually punched my cupboard wall, and now that is when I know that I need to take a step away. Because if I don't take a step away, Dave, I'm going to get more angrier, and then I'm going to do something I regret, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I know the problem, and that's why I'm taking that step away now, and then come back again next season, because I can't. It's ridiculous, and I don't want to be doing it, but I feel like it's the only way around me now being able to clear my mind for the rest of the season and come back with a recharged battery. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? I will be watching the World Cup. I'm going to be doing that. When the World Cup starts, I'm coming back. But until then, I can't, because it's a shambles. And this is, and do you know what the worst thing is, Dave? If we go down, we won't be coming up again straight away.
I know.
And we will be riddled with this big debt as well, right? Let's not get mistaken here. We're going to be riddled with that debt, and we're going to be financially ruined. Literally. And I no one else can.
No, 100%. I think that's one of my big concerns is, you know, the amount of loans and debts and leverage, you know, on the football club. If we go down, money out of the championship, and especially if you're down there for a few seasons, you know, you're going to end up in a big financial mess very, very quickly. So I sort of agree with what you're saying. But look, Ryan, what I would say to you is, my man, it does sound like you need a holiday. I can ring up Thomas Frank, see where he's going. Maybe we can send you off with him. I'm not quite so sure. But no, in all seriousness, it's all right. Go and have a couple of weeks break. Get the head right. Get the head screwed on. Take time out and do what you enjoy doing the most. You know, whether it's playing FIFA, Football Manager, going for walks, eating, it doesn't matter. Do what you need to do. Get yourself back right. And, you know, like I say, keep in contact.
I was actually going to ask you, Dave, I was going to ask you, have you got FC 26 yet?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to go have a couple of games, man. I'll have to get my cross gen on, and we'll have to have a couple of games.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we can sort something out over these this 11-day period or whatever else is between the North London derby. One rule: when I score 5 or 6, no screaming down the microphone to me.
Mate, trust me. I'm in UT. Yeah, I'm a Division 5 player, mate.
I know. I'm up at Division 1, lad.
Yeah, Dave's.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big
undefeated.
That could be tight. Do you know what? We should have it streamed on your platform on this platform so that everyone can see Dave.
No, do you know
He'll
what
post
it
it for the members. He'll post the 20-0 scoreline to the members.
Do you know what it is? I don't want to ruin my leisure. I don't want my whole life to be online. You know, my leisure time is my leisure time. I don't mind, playing games and all, but I don't want it to be all online and stuff like that. But anyway, Ryan,
thanks, Ryan, for coming on, man. Thanks for being patient.
No, you guys are good. I'll see you in the summer.
We'll see you next season.
Hopefully before then. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right.
Go and do something.
Take your time. Take your time, Ryan. But hopefully we get you back before the end of the season.
Yeah.
Big up, man.
Well,
have a good rest of your
I'll
night.
see you guys in the summer. If not,
see you, man. Have a good night.
Have a good evening, my man. J-Mac, I know people say I talk big when it comes to FIFA, but I'm not a bad player, in fairness.
He's never conceded a single goal ever. Ricky Nato saying, but guys, we've had some good moments in the first half and no gameplay. I cried myself to sleep every week, but I knew I had you guys, my Spurs family, who suffered. Also, let's go. Come on, you Spurs. Very kind, Ricky. Thanks for being here with us. Matty Bynum said, big up, Dave and Jack. It feels like Frank was just trying to overcompensate for Ange's style. He has proper messed Spurs season up and walked away with a few million in his pocket, praying for us. Good to have you, Matt. Everyone is making fun of Chris's injury, saying that Ange got him injured and whatnot, but that was funny. Scooter React saying, morning, boys. This results in large part were due to the crazy amount of injuries. Not sure any manager could win a game with this squad. Thoughts on who comes in? Come on, you Spurs. Good to have you with us, Scooter Reacts. And then Paul Van Ben saying, nothing changes until Enoch go, but we must stick together in these hard times. We don't run away. Class comment there from Paul. Good to have you, man.
Big up, Paul. And just quickly also, big up Shawnee as well. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well, sneaking in here. To be fair, I'm almost sure I battered you a couple of times. I'm almost sure I did. But anyway, if my recollection is wrong, I also challenge you over the next 11 days to a game of FIFA. And, let me put the word right with that one. Big up Spurs Talk Show, though. Big up Shawnee. Absolute legend. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. But look, guys, we are down to the last guest of the evening. This will be the last guest. We've been on now for 3.5 hours. I need food. I need my brain to have a mental rest from Tottenham Hotspur as well. But we've got one last guest to bring you on. And he's always in the chat, always has a good few things to say. Let's bring him on. It's Adam. Adam, good evening, sir. How are you keeping?
How you doing, everyone? Can you hear me?
Yep. Loud and clear.
Keeping well?
I'm well. I can't hear Jack.
Can't hear Jack?
Can you hear me, Dave?
I can hear you, Jack.
Huh.
I can't hear him. I don't know why.
I used to have the same problem when I didn't have headphones when I was doing it on my phone. You know, sometimes, when you're on live, you need to log out and log back in for Jack to hear you. But look, it's fine. We can work
Talk
with
for
it.
him. Talk for him.
Jack's a good lip reader, so I'm sure he'll do his best to understand what you have to say. But Adam, I mean, look, how are you feeling after the sacking of Thomas Frank? Do you think it's the right decision? Do you think maybe they should have persisted with it to the end of the season and chanced around that he was going to avoid relegation? Where are you at with it all?
Right. The fact that we've got this time period before the Arsenal match, I think it's a big play on that. It's a big play on that. I feel like the owners, they're playing fucking chess. They're playing chess with our club, and they're playing chess with the supporters. That's how I feel, right? So, like Thomas Frank coming in the summer, I don't think he was the worst person that they could have brought in. I feel like the man. It's like cut me a frigging bone here. You know what I mean? It's like you know, the injuries is just like, oh,
they haven't helped. Yeah,
you can't. It's like being a Tottenham supporter and watching a manager now. It seems to me that you, bar the fact that our ownership haven't got a fucking Scooby what they're doing. Sorry for my swearing.
No, look,
right?
I'm at it all the time.
Right, they haven't got a Scooby when it comes to not even the employment of players, but the employment of people to employ the players. The structure that they've gave to Frank. I feel like there's been a little bit of like no one had anything to do with it. Like with the injury thing, it could just be like everyone's trying to think: is it the pitch? Is it the people that are in the sort of like
physio
recovery
department
room trying to deal with the players? Is it this? We're all trying to look for answers, right? And the thing is, when you've gone through the season that we did last year, okay, we walked away with a European Cup. But you know what? I'm not being funny. There isn't many managers in the world that could have managed a team in that season to get through that European and even get to the final, regardless of winning, right? And you look at how Man United have, and I don't like to focus on other clubs because I don't really understand. I don't know what's going on with other clubs. But they went out and did what they did in the summer, and we went out and did what we did. Now, obviously, when you've had 25 years of someone literally, how do you word this? Sort of like managing everything at a club to the point of what brand of bog roll. I mean, he set us up for failure by doing that. But the fact that the Lewis family didn't recognise that, and that they've then come in. I feel like they've had a plan. I feel like they've got a plan, and I feel like they wanted consistent. They thought that bringing Frank in was going to bring some sort of, because of his because of what he has done with Brentford and his consistency. They felt like that he could see us through the season, right? I think they knew quite quickly that Pochettino was their next step, and I feel like if we'd beat Newcastle, if we'd got a few more points off of them last 6-7 games, and we weren't in the position that we were in right now, maybe we were just a little step up, and maybe West Ham hadn't got the results they'd got, they would have rid this out until the end of the
100%.
season.
100%.
Right? They would have rid on the back of Thomas Frank. They would have took all the flack, all the bullshit. They would have took it all, and they were Conor Gallagher coming in. Do you know what? Like, even this shit with Lang, right? No, I don't think that Lang's the right guy. But you know what? I don't think he was ever the guy. I think the guy was Paratici. But because you had that crossover point of where Levy left and then Paratici come back, there was like the adult recruitment and the youth recruitment. If you look at January, I think Lange has done his job, right? Let's be honest. He's brought in some youngsters. That's his fucking job, right? I don't.
You
anyone
attribute
saying, "Oh, well, what's Lange done?" It's like, wait a minute. Don't knock him, even though I don't rate him. Look at the fact that why the hell? I mean, why like I can't get my head around this, right? Is that Solomon has gone to Florentina. Florentina signed 5 players in January, right?
Mm.
So wait a minute, right? Are you telling me that he did not sign off on them 5 signings?
Yeah, I'd say he had something to do with it. I'd say so, yeah.
Right. So what was he doing for us? Why are we still paying him? What like and you have to look at Vinay for that. But then you have to go deeper into it, because if you're blaming Vinay, then you've got to blame the man above Vinay, right? Because they employed him and he made a fucking shit show decision. And then we look at that. Look at what we've come out with. It's absolutely, oh my god.
I do actually understand what you're saying.
Embarrassing.
I do actually understand what you're saying in terms of Daniel Levy sort of had so much control down to, as you said, what bog roll goes into the bathroom and stuff, and that, once he was gone, you're never going to have that figure again. It's almost like he needed to diversify the jobs before he left to set us up for failure internally. So I do understand where you're coming from that point, and you do look at the structure now, and I know the Lewis family came in and tried to put their own structure in place, throughout and stuff like that. But it's just failed massively.
But what do you mean they've come in and what you mean the Lewis family? They've come in and tried to put what structure in place?
Well, over time they've diversified roles within in the club, where it's not just Vinay making all the decisions and stuff like that. They've put different people in place in order to look after different things. But I just think they brought in Vinay came in under Daniel Levy, which I think was the wrong thing to do. I think they should have sacked Johan Lang in the summer and brought in another director of football to steer this shit moving forward. And I also think they got it wrong in terms of the managerial appointment. And I just think the whole structure is an absolute mess right now.
I feel Frank's been let down massively. I feel things have gone against him. But also I do. Do you know something? This didn't even resonate with me until this morning when I was watching Sean on the Spurs talk show, and there was something he said that was so resonating, was that when Frank was bigging up players, like him saying, "Oh, Richarlison, he's good on the press." So you're talking about him without the ball. You're talking about players without the ball. He bigs up players. He was putting an emphasis on players, on their ability when they do not have the ball. So you're out of possession. Like who does that?
But we should have seen that coming, though. If anyone went and done the research into him at Brentford, they had the fewest passes completed in the first half of any game. Which shows naturally they end up sitting back off the opposition and looking to, play for the draw and stuff like that. And I think that was one of the big things that people missed when we brought Thomas Frank into the club. In terms of the style of play, I think a lot of people maybe looked at what was going on in second half of games, similar to Tottenham, or Brentford are playing on the front foot. They're going for games to try to get back into it. And, praising Frank for, look at him, he changes it, throughout games to go and get results and stuff like that. And it's like, but his initial tactics set you up to fail, because you respect every single opposition, regardless of how good they are. And this is where I think Frank hasn't helped himself. When you're coming up against teams like we did Bournemouth, Burnley, West Ham, with long runs without winning, you go for the kill from the very beginning. You look to score early and dink their confidence very early on. But we didn't. We sat off them like we do to every other team, allowed them to build confidence. And all of a sudden they're going, oh, hang on, we can get something today. Then your belief kicks in, momentum, confidence, stuff like that. And that's what was happening to us on the football pitch. And that's where I do think Frank set us up to failure. That's where I do think Frank needs to take a lot of accountability for what's gone on the football pitch. Like, we can sit here and say we haven't given him all these signings, But name me any manager at any club across world football walks in and gets 10, 15 signings off the bat. You know, there's
No,
your
they
star
don't. No, they
profile
don't.
stuff.
No, they don't.
It's up to you to come in to be able to pair your 4, 5, 6 summer signings with what you've already got and get the very best out of it. And Frank has failed massively, you know, and a lot of it comes down to the tactics that he's employed on the football pitch. In my opinion, I don't give him a free pass, you know, amongst this structure. The way I look at it is we gave Frank a coaching team. We didn't give Jose, Conte, or Ange Postecoglou.
No, you're right. You're right.
You know,
you're right.
You look at the players that we signed initially in the summer. You're telling me Jose, Conte, and Ange wouldn't have killed for them level of signings, you know, in terms of like your ready-made players rather than some of the shit we brought in underneath them, like your Joe Rodon for Jose Mourinho and stuff like that. And I look at it and go, if we gave them managers that same sort of structure at the start to sort of get up and running,
yeah,
I think we could be talking about one of them still being in the job right now. You know what I mean? And you know, because he's winning all the time. And I just think that's where Frank has really let himself down. He has struggled to adapt what's acceptable at Brentford, you know, to what's acceptable at Tottenham. At Brentford, you know, we hear him coming out after every single game. We competed, we played well, you know, we lost because of, you know, fine margins. Yeah, if you come out and you say that after a game at Brentford, because their ambition is totally different, they're going to accept that. That's fine. At Tottenham Hotspur, your expectation is to win most weeks. It's not acceptable. You know,
yeah,
it's
about the here and now. It's about the here and now. And at the end of the day, whether you're players that have like potential or whatever that is, it's about the here and now. I mean, I've worked on building sites my whole life, and my old boss used to say to me, if you ever join a gym, I'll sack you. And I was like, why is that? And he said, because obviously you haven't worked hard enough for me today. You know what I mean?
yeah.
No, that's what he said to me. He said, if you've got enough energy at the end of the day to go down the gym, he goes, fuck off, right? Yeah. And fair play, because at the end of the day, these players, I feel like, and look at the example. I mean, he what he did with Basuma, like, fucking, what's on with that guy, right? When he come to us, you watched him at Brighton. I ain't gonna lie, like in that around that area, like he was dangerous, man. And you see these players come take that step up to a bigger club, and they take their foot off the gas. But you look at other managers, and I'm not going to mention a certain person, but you look at other managers, right? And I'll be honest, they stick a rocket up your ass, right? Yeah. And I feel like Frank, he's been very blasé. But you know what? He is like he's the mimic of what's above him.
Yeah, I can understand that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can understand that. I do get what you're saying in terms of, you know, some of the rhetoric that comes out, you know, in press conferences and stuff like that. I fully understand that. But Adam, it's been good to speak to you, my man. It's nice to put a face to the name. Actually, it's been a pleasure.
It's a weird face, isn't it?
Jeez, not at all, lad. Not at all. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, you know, we get to speak to you more on these fan shows, my man.
No, I'll come on here more, man. But I don't know. I don't know where the next step is.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to go through this Pochettino. We need to go through this to end it. I feel like the Levy family. Fuck me. The Lewis family. I feel like the Lewis family. This is going to be the last throw of the dice. I feel like they're going to really play on this one, and it's just going to keep them in the club, because I feel like with the projects and everything, it's just about time with them. It's all about money and time and their investment and it coming off the right way. And all their PR stunts, all their bullshit, right? It's all based on the rhetoric of what they want, and it's not what we want as fans, right? And at the end of the day, every decision that's going to be made or has been made, it's all based on what they're going to get as their final number, and it's
100%.
and I feel like we're going to get dragged through it. We're going to get dunked. We're going to have highs. We're going to have lows. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because when they leave the club, like, we're left there holding the can with everyone else, the players, the manager, the staff, and they're going to just go off in the distance back to Barbados and fucking be sitting there drinking sangria.
Couldn't agree
They
more.
don't care. They do not give a shit.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're absolutely spot on. I think where they're at right now, you know, they were in fear of the club getting relegated in Daniel Levy's control, so they come in to try and manage it so that, you know, and basically to manage their inheritance. That's what it is. As soon as the club sold, that's their inheritance from daddy and stuff like that. So that's what they're here to do, damage control. And look, I'm just hoping we only have 1 or 2 more years under this sort of Enoch tenure and they're done. But we do have to crack on, Adam. We do have
sorry,
to,
man. No, lovely.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. I fully agree with you about, you know, the last part there, especially about them just coming in and blanket statements. It's all fake. They're here to manage. You know, they have a certain figure they want to pull, and they're not going to go until that's met. I absolutely agree with you on that. But look, hopefully we see you back here next week, my man.
Exactly, and I hope those 120,000 tickets they sold for BTS in the summer, the K-pop band, I hope they're going to give them to the fans for such a shit season. You know what I mean?
To be honest with you, I think that'd be torture for me. I wouldn't want one of them. I'd be like, you're trying to put me through more torture. So yeah. Well, you have a good evening, sir.
All right, lovely.
Have a good evening, Adam.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers, guys. Take care.
I actually think he's absolutely spot on there with what he said around the end, you know, that they're in here to sort of manage their inheritance and, you know, they want a certain figure out of it. I think he's absolutely spot on. But, you know, it's good. Adam, Roberto, it's great to put names to faces in the chat, and hopefully that encourages more of you out there to come on and have conversations with myself and Jack moving forward on these fan shows. But I want to say a massive thank you to
everybody.
Saurin and Martin for coming on and doing the debate with us earlier on, and then everybody that's come on, you know, off the back of it to have their say in that. And also to everyone who's gone the extra mile: Dermatron, Logan, Jerome, Iceman, Fazzy, Adam himself, who was just on, Dropkick Your Teacher, Tom Lowry, Betto, and also Paul Brown. Really appreciate all of the support today.
Thank you,
most
guys.
importantly, all of you guys at home for tuning in, listening in, putting your thoughts in the comment section below. Look, I think we'll all agree it needed to be done. We were heading down to relegation with Frank in charge. What we've done is pull the trigger, roll the dice. It's our last roll of the dice. And I would say it's one that Vinay and Johan Lang better fucking get right, or else it's going to continue on the same way. So we'll wait and see. Time will tell. And enjoy your evenings, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your evenings, everybody. There's still plenty more to chat about. Of course, we have to figure out what sort of decisions Spurs make manager-wise, and plenty more big games ahead to try to salvage something from this season. So we'll have to lock in still, even with Thomas Frank being gone. But we'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.